in Columbia, South
You made it all the
Carolina.
way through the hockey game?
I made it all the way through to the very end. A very good game. Again, 1-0. The goal comes in the second period. I've already forgotten the young man who scored the goal, but he was a rookie this year, and it played a big part. It was a name that I was very familiar with until literally was just going to say it, and now is completely blanked on it. But a good game, 1-0 last night. So that was basically Denmark, England, and Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, Montreal was my sports calendar yesterday. We'll get into some other news. Frank Martin met with the media yesterday. Some interesting stuff from him, and we'll talk a little bit about that and what he had to say. South Carolina basketball, they're on track. They're on track for the season. I think some of you were very concerned. You weren't sure they were going to be able to fill the roster. They've got one. They've got a roster full of players. They've got some healthy coaches. It sounds like they've got some competitive spirit. We'll see how that all turns out, but we will get to some of that this morning, as well as Frank Martin. Again, what he talked about yesterday. Also, big day kind of in college basketball. Probably a lot of people didn't pay attention, but yesterday was the final day for underclassmen to pull out of the NBA draft or leave their name in the NBA draft. A couple big names we'll get to here shortly that made some big decisions yesterday that could be interesting to kind of follow. So that's kind of where we stand as we roll into July 8th. Again, Patrick, we'll get kind of a breakdown from you. Hurricane Elsa, as I flip on the news here, is kind of the story. Again, we're hoping everybody is safe and sound this morning. I don't think it was an awful night. It looks like we missed the brunt force of now what was, I guess, a tropical storm that is finishing up its passing by. It looks like we're on the backside of it, about another 3 to 4 hours, and hopefully everything will clear up. And how is it downtown your way?
It's rainy, but it's not that bad. I didn't think the wind was terrible. I mean, I worked in it last night, and I could hear the rain falling pretty hard, but I didn't hear winds that were ridiculous. So I don't think it's terrible, but I did just pull up the traffic thing that I get that does live traffic updates, and I mean, everything that I see is like fallen tree, object on the roadway, things like that. So I guess in certain areas, you're close to the water, so I assume the wind's whipping a little bit more over there.
It is. It's blowing.
I can see the trees in the live stream background. We were a little bit late getting the live stream up, but we're up now.
Yeah, it's blowing in from the northeast, and there's two sets of docks behind me that are sadly they're entertaining as long as nothing bad happens, because it is interesting to watch the boats and the dock bounce. But if you want to join us this morning, 803-404-6100 is how you can join us. You can also hit us up via the live stream, as always. Trey weighing in this morning. Morning, y'all. Our resident Clemson fan, Mr. Corley, from right here in Lexington. I like to consider him a friend, but if he keeps pushing us down the path, I'm going to have to go hang out with some of his relatives instead of him. Mr. Corley weighing in. He says, good morning, Tigers. And he says, Gamecocks too. Spellcheck just got him. DC weighing in as well. So you can always join us on the live stream. Go to the 107.5 The Game YouTube page and search for 107.5 The S. Actually, go to YouTube and search 107.5 The Game page and click and subscribe. You can always do that and join us each and every morning as we get through. Again, Tim will be joining us, we believe, shortly. We think. We're not real sure at this point. You want to put
I think his mental alarm clock will go off at some point if his electronic alarm clock has not.
Well, I think we've all been there. If it's not the mental alarm clock, one of the three kids, maybe the 1-year-old, that alarm clock will go off at some point as well.
I'll put the over/under at 6:30.
6:30ish. Okay.
Yeah, so I think that's about where we're going to get him.
6:30ish. So
that's the longest I've had to fill the show by myself.
Okay. All right. One of the times that I was out. So a couple ways you can always hit us up. Twitter at Will, WIL, Gunter, GUNTER. He's at _ Patrick Pratt. And again, you always got the phone lines, the Cool Care Heating and Air text line 803-404-6100 is how you can join us that way. Something else from yesterday that we'll get into, name, image, likeness. And man, I tell you what, Patrick, we talked a lot about it yesterday, but I'm going to tell you what, the South Florida area, have you seen the newest organization to get involved in name, image, likeness? Did this pop up on your screen yesterday? Did you see a professional sports franchise that appears ready to head down the path of name, image, likeness. I brought this up about a week ago, and it had to do with another franchise who actually shares the same mascot name. And mine was just a hypothetical, but it appears that a South Florida franchise, a pro franchise, is ready to get in on name, image, likeness deals. You want to take a guess as to who could be doing this?
Major, is it one of the four majors?
Yes, I believe you would count this as a major.
It's one of the four major sports teams.
Yes.
Shares a name.
Shares a name with
Miami Heat, Miami Dolphins, Miami Florida Panthers.
There you go.
What are the Florida Panthers doing?
That's right. Yeah, name, and we'll get into this a little bit this morning as well. The Florida Panthers yesterday revealed a plan to get involved with name, image, likeness deals. They are the first, it says the first NHL team. As far as I know, they're the first major professional sports team to establish an opportunity for college athletes to align with them. They are actually going to try and limit this to basically schools down in the South Florida area, primarily, as the article states. You can check it out on ESPN, the Miami Hurricanes and Florida Atlantic. So you've got the former Fighting Lane Kiffins, now I believe it is the Willie Taggarts down there, Florida Atlantic Owls. The Florida Panthers chief strategy officer, Sam Dorr, saying yesterday, right now, at the very least, we're getting an understanding of who's interested. We're really trying to understand what schools, who they are, what program, kind of their social media following, and then we'll internally set guidelines about who will qualify for the program. So what the Florida Panthers are doing here is more along, I think, at least in theory, what you were hoping name, image, likeness would be, that they're going to at least have some guidelines, and it's not as blatant as we saw yesterday with just, hey, I'm trying to get Miami better. I'm going to pay every player $500, and they can promote my All-American team home gym or whatever it was called there, where you just got basically a donor coming out and saying, yeah, I'm tired of taking stuff from Florida State and Florida fans, and Miami needs to be at the top. So we're just going to pay players. We're going to do it under the background of name, image, likeness. This one looks a little bit more professional, but again, it's limiting who really will be involved to South Florida schools, and then that limits it to basically Miami and Florida Atlantic. Says deals are still being final details are still being arranged, but the Panthers are now planning to offer merchandise such as jerseys to college athletes. They get signed, along with the opportunity to earn money through a pretty robust social media marketing campaign.
That is smart.
They'll get paid. This is, again, Sam Dorr, who, to give you his official title, Panthers Chief Strategy Officer, Florida Panthers, by the way. I'll mess that up several times this morning for those of you who tune in and I say Panthers, it's Florida Panthers. But again, he says they'll get paid probably per post or per campaign. They'll benefit off of posting. It'll really take the existing infrastructure of social media influencer marketing and extending it to college athletes, but using a pro team as an extension of that. So that's another step in the name, image, likeness situation that we'll cover this morning. So again, a lot to get to. But Patrick, just your quick take as I read that off to you, and wasn't sure exactly. Yes, if you had heard it, does not sound like you had caught that.
No, I hadn't. But it is interesting because that is a team and a fan base that's not very popular. Like the Lightning have a great fan base because they have a great team. Who knows what it would be like if they didn't? But Miami, I guess people always have something else to do, and the Florida Panthers have not been very good recently. They just made the playoffs this year, though. But it makes sense on multiple levels. I mean, it's interesting from the college perspective, but it's very interesting from the hockey perspective, because I was just reading the other day that the NHL signed some sort of endorsement with this giant TikTok star so that he could show up to events and get younger people to come to the game. So if that would be the Florida Panthers version of getting younger people involved, like if they can get, like the Miami football team is one of the most influential groups of people in the city of Miami. So that's their way to kind of jump on the NIL trend and also grow their fan base or get their fan base younger. It's pretty interesting. So I guess that would mean like social media posts in the Panthers sweater or we're going to have a Hurricanes night at the Panthers game where players will be there to sign autographs before and after the game. Like, I guess the possibilities are pretty endless, but I mean, I never really thought that professional teams were going to be getting involved in this, but I guess it makes sense for hockey, which is trying to grow itself. Like, I could never imagine. We talked about what was the thing that Heath brought up with the Panthers signing South Carolina players or something like that. The Carolina Panthers signing South Carolina players, like, and we discussed that didn't really seem to make a lot of sense. But I guess from the hockey perspective, it does. And I don't know, maybe baseball would get involved with this because that's another sport that's kind of going out of fashion and needs younger fans. Like, I guess it's just every day it seems like another thing that could just open Pandora's box, and it's a whole nother rabbit hole for us to go down and think through all the possibilities. But it is pretty wild. I didn't see that yesterday.
Yeah, and if you want to weigh in, 803-404-6100 is how you can do so. That was kind of the interesting name, image, likeness news that came out yesterday. As Patrick said, it does feel like every day something's going to come out with name, image, likeness that's going to kind of make you wonder what exact direction we're heading. But that was yesterday. So we'll get into that again a little bit as well. Again, Frank Martin from yesterday. Frank sounding very upbeat, as he should, sounding energetic about the program, again, as he should. I'm interested, Patrick. I'm interested to see what exactly this basketball team looks like. I'm not going to promise anybody that it's going to be a great team, that they're going to make the NIT or let alone the NCAA, that they'll have a 500 record, or I have no clue what this team will look like. It really is maybe the weirdest sports season, top to bottom, that I can think of that we're approaching here on July 8th, where I have no clue what I'm going to see from South Carolina football. I have zero clue what that team's even going to look like. They could go 4-8, and I'd go, yep, that seems about right. They could go 7-5, and I'd go, okay, I believe that. Basketball is going to be in the same boat. And Frank Martin talking yesterday about rebuilding that roster, being excited about it, but just in general about moving forward past what last year was.
Yeah, I mean, it is truly the weirdest year. Like, I don't even know what that would when they do what time of year do they do their projections, like SEC projections.
They'll do.
I mean, South Carolina's, you've got to think they're going to be in the 12 to 14 range, right?
Yeah, but last year was the anomaly where the preseason predictions had them top 5, I think top 4, and obviously that didn't come to fruition. So yeah, you expect, because most years they've 3 out of the last
overachieve.
4 years,
3
out of the last 4 years they've been between 10 and 14, and they've ended up top 5, top 4 in the conference. And so last year the anomaly where they're picked high, they don't even come close to it. But no, I'm with you on that. I don't expect the media to. I mean, there's fans. Pretty much everybody's going to have to come in, and as fans, people that want to go and watch are going to have to go buy a media guide. Media guide sales are going to be through the roof the first few games. But it is interesting to hear Frank talk about this team, to talk about last year, and just to see what it's going to look like when they take the court in November.
Yeah, when's the last time we knew less about a team? Like, truly, if I had to bet money and you said name the starting 5, I would feel confident about 2 of them.
Yeah, and that's I'd go 3.
I'll throw Bryant.
I'll throw Wildens Levesque in there as well. They Chuck Martin also meeting with the media yesterday, kind of a big round table with Martin, with both the Martins and Brian Steele as well. And coming out of that, basically, they're very impressed. Trayvon Minott was a guy that Chuck Martin also highlighted, but we'll see. We'll see. You really have zero clue when you have this many new faces and you're going to try and mold and mesh all these young men together. But interesting to hear there as Frank Martin meeting yesterday. So again, you got Frank Martin, you got name, image, likeness. Stanley Cup last night, again, 1-0. The Lightning win the Stanley Cup, and yes, I stayed up and took in everything. Stayed up all the way till roughly, I think it was about 11 o'clock, Patrick. It's not like I was making it to 1 a.m. or some kind of wild early morning adventure. I have been up a little bit watching the hurricane or tropical storm or whatever exactly it is. I think it was downgraded yesterday, or it's been a tropical storm since it came on land, maybe sometime around Tuesday. But again, if you're out there, be safe this morning. Patrick's got a traffic report for you. We'll keep you updated on that. We'll get you through the morning. It's 6:23 on a Thursday morning, we patiently await the arrival of Tim Hill from a deep night of slumber. Maybe he stayed. Maybe he is secretly, Patrick, a Lightning fan that just stayed up all night partying.
Yep.
Or he's an England soccer fan, and the trip to the finals of Euro Cup has gotten to him. We'll find out when he arrives. Right now, you're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. Oh, yes, that's right. We'll have to see what exactly. Maybe Tim maybe he had a big night last night because he refinanced. Who knows? He did something, and now he's enjoying the morning. Right now, I got to tell you about how you'll enjoy each and every morning. That's by refinancing and saving money on your house. And right now is a golden opportunity to do it with the Mortgage Guru team of Brian Kovar and Jacob Crowder. That's right. Jacob's been in the business for over 20 years here in this market. He continues to say interest rates have never been this low. And Brian wants you to know, don't get caught watching the paint dry. In other words, don't miss this golden opportunity where you can refinance, maybe lower your interest rate, get a little money back if you got some equity in your house, and then you'll be able to turn that around into paying off maybe a credit card, improving your financial situation. They were talking the other day how they helped one of their good buddies down in North Augusta refinance, get some money back, and now their buddy is actually putting in a basketball court in his backyard for his son. So give Jacob and Brian a call with First Palmetto Bank, 803-719-1005. You can also email Jacob, the letter J, Crowder, CROWDER, at firstpalmetto.com is the way to do that. Again, that phone number, 803-719-1005. He's the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder, with First Palmetto Bank. Yes, Anthony, it looks like we've lost the Tim Hill this morning. And let the record show, I was late. I've been late to the program, but I've never done this. I'm gonna get some coffee. Ooh. It's crazy out here in DC. I've been up since 3. Not the place to do a morning show. Oh, good grief. Yeah, I bet you've been outside working in it. Man. It looks like we got Craig, I don't know. Let's see if you can see my boat on the screen would be kind of in that back corner just past that little green. There's a little green I'm pointing at and you can't see it, but I don't know. It's out there. I see the cover on it. I can see the cover on the boat from here. I don't think you have that good of a view to see, but it's in the back corner back there. These boats, I mean, a second. Oh no, that's the computer screen. Oh great. I don't know if you can see the boats there in the foreground. They were rocking like crazy last night. Patrick, you're still on mute.
Yeah, I'm gonna switch myself over to the studio computer. I have to email myself. I emailed you and Tim a blank message. I didn't mean to do that. I thought I was sending you the link, but I guess I forgot to attach the hyperlink.
Do we have any Frank Martin cuts?
Yeah, we have 7 of them. You want me to forward you the? Did you listen to it?
I've read about it. I didn't listen to the whole thing. It talked for an hour.
Yeah, I mean, I can send you. I don't know how long we'll be without Tim, so I'll send you the list that he sent me yesterday of stuff to cut.
Okay.
All right. Do you want me to just text you a screenshot of it?
Yeah, that's fine. Just somewhere I can kind of.
All right. I just. Hey, if Tim doesn't come back by this next break, do Corley.
Okay.
Yeah, because he's supposed to have a spot here, and we don't really have.
We don't have a Tim.
Well, we don't have a Tim, but we also don't have a free break that we can.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, we're good.
All right. Switch this. All right. That was because I was on both screens. I don't know what caused that reverberation, but
Play number 7 coming back. We'll talk a little more name, image, likeness on that.
All right, we got a caller, Keith, who is anti NIL.
All right. Play 7, then we'll go to Keith, and we'll see where we stand. Well, we're past 6:30, so we went over your Tim Hill time.
Went over. Maybe he lost power.
I still think he would have texted us. They didn't get it bad in the upstate where he's at. He got it. The coast got it bad. Number 7.
Right now, this moment, everyone wants to walk out. So it's irrelevant to the game. You brother. Hey, Joe, you good? Yeah, you're good. Okay, Joe, this is what I can do. You're interested? No, that's long for me. That long can do. Leave next. That's what reviews comes from.
You're up.
And I'm not overreacting. It's just the beginning. It's going to get even worse than that if we move forward.
Frank Martin talking about name, image, likeness from yesterday, and it is something. It is like having a part of my sports background here, having gotten into this through football recruiting and having to travel around and go to camps and deal with recruits, then owning a basketball scouting company and there's a bunch of events that start kicking off today actually throughout the Southeast for AAU players that coaches will be attending and evaluating for 2022 and 2023 and so forth and so on. It's not just limited to basketball. And Patrick, we talked about it to open the program a little bit. Yesterday, we were talking about the Miami gym owner who just says, "Hey, I'm gonna pay $500 to every Miami football player, not basketball player, not baseball player, not gymnast, not softball, nothing else. $500 a month to every Miami football player, all 90. I thought the scholarship numbers were 85, but he arrived at 90. He said all 90 guys are going to get $500 and they can post and tweet and talk about my gym, and I'll do it for the foreseeable future. Then yesterday, the news comes out that the Florida Panthers are going to do some kind of partnership with college athletes with name, image, likeness. Now, this will be a little bit different. They at least appear to have some kind of set guidelines, because whereas the Miami gym owner openly admits, hey, the only reason I'm doing this, I expect nothing in return. I don't expect this to help my business. I'm only doing this because I want to start being back at the top. We need to bring back the U, which is the corporation he started. Yesterday, the Florida Panthers said, hey, we're going to do something to promote our brand a little bit more. We're going to partner up with athletes from the University of Miami, from Florida Atlantic. They weren't specific. This one could be a little bit different. It could involve some gymnasts. It could involve some softball players. It could involve, neither team, by the way, has a hockey program, if you're wondering. I don't know how that would exactly work, Patrick, with, like, let's say, again, I used the hypothetical, I think 2 weeks ago or a week ago. What if the Carolina Panthers wanted to do it? And just, I used it because I heard Heath talking about it. And it is an interesting concept. If you're the Panthers and you want to stretch, or you're the Falcons, let's say, and you want to try and get a piece of the Columbia market, and you say if you're the Falcons, you sign Kevin Harris to a name, image, likeness, and you use him to say, hey, on Saturdays I'm a Gamecock, but on Sundays I'm a Falcon, and he's just got a T-shirt on, and then doing that. I don't know if that's necessarily going to make any of you watch the Atlanta Falcons, but let's say the Atlanta Falcons want to get into this market a little bit more, a market they used to own until the Carolina Panthers came along. It is interesting to see where we're going with this.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the fact that Miami doesn't have a hockey team is almost more of a reason for the Florida Panthers to want to partner with them, because hockey people are already bought in. I think what they really need to do is get people that aren't already into the hockey world and enter them into it. Like, get football fans that would never think to watch hockey. It's Hurricanes night and they're going to be signing autographs at the game. I'll take my kid and go watch a hockey game. And they think once they get you into the doors of an NHL hockey game, very few people that go experience that don't want to do it again. So that's their idea. But it's all over the place. You teased in the first segment, like, yesterday was the deadline for guys to withdraw their names from the NBA draft. And one of the big ones was Hunter Dickinson from Michigan, who said that early on he was fully bought in on going to the NBA. He didn't think there was a chance he was going to come back. And this NIL thing, it's a better deal for him, because he doesn't know if he's going to get drafted. Might be a second round pick with no guaranteed money. And best case scenario, now he can make some money at Michigan because he's probably the most well-known player on the Michigan basketball team. Now he can make maybe six figures this year and then put his name back in the draft again. Maybe he increases his stock and actually becomes a first-round pick and solidifies his stock. But I think that's going to be the biggest thing, is kids deciding to stay in school now. Like, I wonder if AJ Lawson looks at this at all and thinks, I could have probably transferred and made some actual money. Like, if he doesn't get drafted, I wonder if he would have any regrets of, I could have stayed one more year and probably made money at a college. South Carolina's probably the wrong school for that, because they don't support the basketball team, so it's not a really the right place to do it. But that's another thing that I think is really interesting, just looking at the list of guys that decided to come back.
Yeah, and Kelvin, you mentioned Hunter Dickinson, Marcus Bagley, the brother of Marvin Bagley, who I believe is still with the Kings. I'm not sure. He was the Duke standout. He was a guy last year that had a pretty good season and was pushing up on potential first round draft status. Maybe he would have gotten in there. Maybe he would have fallen to the second. But he elects to come back. Those were two of kind of the bigger names. Scottie Pippen Jr. At Vanderbilt for local ties, just when I'm talking about the SEC, elected to return last night. And then the late night news, Johnny Juzang, who was the guy who really carried UCLA all the way to the Final Four, electing to come back. Juzang, by the way, was a 5-star prospect. He was a guy who was initially committed to Kentucky and ended up changing and going to UCLA at the last minute. And he didn't see, at least anything that I could have seen, Johnny Juzang didn't cite name, image, likeness as a specific reason for his return to UCLA. But I'm with you, Patrick. And we'll see what happens in college football when we get past January and kids, or I guess we get into December and January, and kids have the opportunity to test the waters of, do I want to go to the NFL and maybe be a third, fourth, fifth round pick, or do I want to come back and see if I can capture a little bit of money for my name, image, likeness? We'll get into more of that. Let's get out to the Love Chevy phone lines. Keith is up first. Keith, how you doing this morning? Hope you're safe out there. What's on your mind?
I'm doing great. Hey, guys, yesterday, just listening to the midday show, I mean, they're all over this name, image, likeness. I mean, they love it. Let me set this comment up by saying I'll be the first to say that student athletes need spending money, and I'd much rather had seen the NCAA and the universities up the ante and say we're giving our student athletes, let's say, $600 a month. But to be naive and say, like they were saying on the show yesterday, well, this is above on the top of the table. Everybody knows what's going on. Let me say this. You look at what happened in Miami. Do you really think Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State is going to sit back and let, even though they may not need to do it, the University of Miami outdo them? There'll be someone, alumni, with a business, and they'll wrap it up with a pretty bow on it any way they can, and this thing's going to get out of hand. It's crazy.
Yeah, thank you for the phone call, Keith. Patrick and Patrick, I don't know where you come down on name, image, likeness, and it is the talking point right now across college sports, because kind of what Keith said, the way that the NCAA went about trying to handle this and not putting any guidelines into focusing on it has really opened up a Pandora's box. You don't have a set of, I mean, right now it's based on what the states are doing. So the guidelines are different from state to state to state, and that makes it a little difficult. But on top of this, and we kind of brought it up, I know that Keith just mentioned Alabama and Georgia, but given that Florida and Florida State were specifically pointed out by this Miami, I don't even know if this guy was a booster. I forget now yesterday if he was a booster or not for Miami. But given that Florida and Florida State both were specifically pointed out as teams that he was, I say targeting, but we all know that it was a rival. He was just pointing out he wants to be better than his other two big in-state programs. You got to think that the boosters, they're already trying to figure something out to have something in place. Jaden Gibson is the kid right now that I'm kind of watching in regards to this, because Jaden Gibson's a top 150 prospect in the country. He's a wide receiver. He's out of Winter Garden, Florida. He has Miami on his list. He actually just released a list of 8 schools yesterday. South Carolina made the list, but he's got Miami. He's got Florida on there. He's got Georgia on there. Again, he's got South Carolina mentioned in there. I think based on just people that I know and trust, I think it's Miami, Florida, and then South Carolina really are his kind of main 3 at this point. But he also has Baylor, Auburn, Tennessee, and Florida State on there. That's a guy that you're looking at. That as we played that Frank Martin clip to open this segment, Patrick, that's part of the sales pitch from Miami right now. Hey, you get $500 guaranteed if you come down here and play in Coral Gables.
But so for this kid, though, if he's looking at this, how I just don't even understand, because the schools he can't be meeting with a coach and say, what does the landscape look like for me in terms of sponsorships in Columbia, right? Like, he just kind of, does he have to tweet and say, hey, if I came to South Carolina, who would sponsor me? Is that what these kids are going to start doing? Because they have to do it on their own accord. I think I read that there's almost a dating app type thing between the universities and the businesses, where they can kind of just connect businesses that want to sponsor athletes and the athletes that are open for sponsorships, but that the coaches can't directly talk to a business owner and say, hey, I really want this kid. Will you give him some money? Or will you sponsor him? Like, the business has to go out of their way. Like, I think like the bar in 5 Points that's putting names up on the show, the whatever it's called, the billboard. Like, does it have to be like that? Like businesses tweeting at Jaden Gibson, like if you come here, we guarantee you whatever, and or actually sponsor him while he's in high school?
I think you're naive if you don't think that coaches will meet, have met, are meeting, whatever, with business owners and saying, look, here's what other schools are doing, here's what other business owners are doing. It may not be specific to one player, right? Maybe it's not specific to one player. Maybe you're not out there saying, hey, we need this wide receiver from Winter Garden. I'm going to need you to sponsor him. And if so, it wouldn't exactly be a shock if that actually happened, because let's be honest, far more nefarious things have gone on between boosters and coaches since football was created to get the best prospects to your campus. So let's not act like we'd be shocked if you had coaches, telling or assistant coaches, as I kind of always know it to be, telling certain boosters, hey, look, now that it's legal, we just need your business to go ahead and be in touch and sponsor. And then on the flip side of that, what you also have to, I think, realize is this kid, Jaden Gibson, is going to ask, hey, what is the potential to be sponsored here? And in that case, South Carolina, I think, has it. It's Altius. I can't remember the exact name of who they've got, but the bottom line is you've got is a situation where coaches are going to discuss this with recruits. Now, it could be a situation where the coach says, hey, look, we've got this company that we've partnered with. They will be the one that handles this for you. They'll be the one that jumps in and gets everything taken care of. That's who you're going to have to deal with. It could be a situation where the coach is very vague and says, look, we've got organizations that are ready to sponsor athletes. It
sounds like it mostly has to be the player that's hosting him. Say, oh yeah, trust me, there's all sorts of people that are gonna want to sponsor you. They love these so and so dealership, so and so restaurant. They love sponsored Gamecocks. Just come on here, you'll have plenty of opportunities.
And I think there's part of that, but I think that coaches you're going to have to discuss this with recruits. And it's going to have to be one of those things where you're going to have to kind of be upfront about what's going to happen. Now, maybe that conversation isn't supposed to leave the coach's office. Maybe that's that conversation that's quietly being held in the coach's office with the understanding that once you walk out the door, that conversation never happened. But the bottom line is, the coaches are going to have to know about it, and they're going to have to answer. And that is going to be, as Frank Martin said in that clip, and we'll play it again later here on the show, that is part of the recruiting process. 803-404-6100. That's how you can join us this morning on the Love Chevy phone lines of the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. An anonymous texter weighs in and says, will coaches begin having sponsors tell recruits information in dead periods? Again.
Does that matter? Does it matter if it's a dead period?
Well, for the coaches, what he's always saying is you're passing knowledge. I'll tell that anonymous texter this. That's been going on for a long time, because I had plenty of college coaches that I would get text messages from that would want me to relay that particular message to a recruit 10, 12 years ago when I was doing the recruiting thing. And it was just, hey, if you don't mind, next time you talk to this guy, and then it was both sports, football, basketball. Next time you talk to him, just, tell him, give me a call, or that we've been thinking of him, or, hey, our that position of need is we still very badly need him. So what anonymous texter brings up, very, very likely different ways of just passing the message. Jess weighs in this morning on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. Look forward to seeing what NASCAR does with name, image, likeness for the college players. Should be interesting. Have a great day. You as well, Jess. Patrick, could you imagine? I don't know. Last year would have been Mac Jones or Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence. Maybe their face on the side of a NASCAR car going down the track at Darlington.
That would actually be one of the best advertisements you get. Just say, we're going to put, like how Ricky Bobby had the Puma on his car. You just put a player's face, put his dome on the NASCAR for a specific race. That's actually a great idea.
Yeah. So
can we ask Kerry Tharp if Darlington will sponsor some Gamecocks?
Yeah, why not? We've got Kerry Tharp coming up in about 2 hours. We'll get to that. We'll talk a little bit about that. We got more Frank Martin to play. We'll get back into some other things going on. And we have received a text message from Tim Hill. he's up and at 'em. That means he'll be joining the program this morning at some point as well. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
All right, you got Corley.
As I look outside, it's storming right now. It's rainy, it's gusty, it's not be outside and grill kind of weather, but this coming weekend, it's going to be very nice weather. The question I have for you, is your pool ready to host the neighbors? Is it ready to host your friends, your relatives? Is it ready for your kids to jump in and enjoy a beautiful weekend after a rough storm has passed? If not, don't worry, I got just the people for you. Corley Pool Solutions. Tracy Corley and his team, 20 plus years of experience. And that's important when you talk about someone knowing what chemicals to put in the pool, how to clean it up, not just coming and skimming the pool, right? You need somebody who actually knows what exactly they're doing and doesn't mess up your investment. That's what a pool is, your investment in your backyard by putting the wrong chemicals in that hurt you or your kids or your family members when they jump in. Give Corley Pool Solutions a call, 803-445-8109. Flat rate pricing, including all the chemicals. And again, remember, that's the important part because, yeah, you can go to the store. You can spend your own time, waste your money there, go to the store trying to figure out the correct balances, the chemicals you got to put in, and then you might screw everything up. You might go from a beautiful pool to a green pool, all because you aren't really the professional. You've got other things you've got to do. That's where Corley Pool Solutions comes in. Professionals, 20 plus years of experience, people that know exactly what they're doing, and will have that pool beautiful this weekend for your family cookout. 803-445-8109. That's Corley Pool Solutions.
Well, the roster's so good, they're literally capable of winning a national championship. Everything were to go right.
Absolutely right. I was with him on Monday, and it was great to see him. We had not seen one another since the college football playoff in New Orleans between LSU and Clemson. And remember that time we spent some
All right,
time
now I got to find.
He looked great. He was doing great. He has recently moved back. Remember last fall he was in Florida. He's now come back to Athens and is living in Athens. He and Catherine are to be closer to their kids. And we chatted for a few minutes. It was great. He didn't say a word about
One thing about having too many screens up here, you always, I can never figure out which one has the sound going that I'm watching.
All right. So your last spot will be a 720 sleep number, Bill.
Okay, perfect. How are we on time coming back?
We're not going to have much, but we're fine.
Oh, good. Well,
We're going to have a minute.
well, that's perfect. We can introduce Tim Hill to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Glad you could join us this morning.
My wife was just like, what day is it? She's like, oh, I was hoping it was the weekend. Like, oh, no, just never heard the alarm this morning. My bad.
What's the weather like your way? How is it up there?
Nothing. It's kind of dark, but it's not doing anything yet.
All right, well, there you go.
There.
You can't really, and that actually from about, I've been up since 3 watching this tropical storm or whatever pass through, whatever it is, a depression now or a storm or I don't know.
Yikes.
It has been.
You get in all right?
Yeah, everything here seems okay. I've been watching the boats, but I think everything is okay. I might try and run out there. This is the most daylight I've had. So I might try and run out there here in between the break and navigate to where I can at least look down and make sure nothing's gone haywire on me.
Yeah, we're about to come back. We're going to go right into the closing bed. We're going to have Exactly.
All you, Bill. All you.
All right, you're up.
Our number 2, we'll do it next. We'll even bring in Tim Hill, who was out celebrating all night. Stanley Cup Finals. He's been partying. That's what back-to-back Stanley Cups will do, and it'll do it this year. When you win a championship, you get to do it with fans. We got to see Mississippi State do that in Omaha. We got to see Tampa last night, 18,000 strong in Amelia Arena in Tampa as they knock off the Montreal Canadiens 1-0. Maybe Tim was actually across the pond. We'll find out in the next hour. Maybe he was over there.
Huge lightning guy. Big lightning guy.
Were you? So that's what we got to find out. Were you Tampa, or were you celebrating England advancing to Euro Cup Finals 2021?
You'll have to wait till the next hour to find out.
No, that's glad he's with us. You're listening to the early game, 107.5 The Game. All right. I'm going to put my life on the line. I'll be back.
Hey, thanks for having us. Thanks for having me, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Not 100% sure, even if something's wrong, what I'm going to do.
I guess tighten the knots.
Yikes. You guys been playing any of that Frank? Talking to me about that stuff?
We played the last one, the number 7 cut, about recruiting. But we talked.
All hockey all the time?
No, we didn't even really get into it. We did that. We talked briefly about the NBA decisions because yesterday was the deadline. We talked about the Florida Panthers saying that they were going to sponsor Miami players and Florida Atlantic players. That might have been it. It might have been all we talked about.
Gotcha.
It was mostly NIL talk. We took one call.
Any good?
Not really. Not terrible.
Well, thanks for holding it down. My bad. Yeah.
No problem.
Something's wrong with my stupid phone with the alarm. Sometimes it just stays silent, I think, when it starts or resets or something. I don't know. Or I just slept right through it, one or the other. It's always good. It says, missed alarm. Putting the face on the NASCAR car was also a discussion, I'm guessing, Tracy.
Yep. Because we were talking about the hockey team, and somebody texted in and said, "Yeah, we'll be interested to see what NASCAR does with this."
Oh, Keith was the caller. Huh?
Keith was the caller. He wasn't happy that are pro NIL.
Who wasn't happy with what?
Keith was saying that the afternoon guys, they're just loving this NIL, and he did not agree.
I just see the lives there. Thank you. 3 this morning, 7:48, 10, and 8.
Yep.
I think I saw. Didn't I see that one of them was like double booked? I see that. Notice that?
I think Buford might be double booked. They're in the same. It's in like the same break. So
right.
Do you want to do 2 of them?
It doesn't make any sense. No, just remember that they were double booked today. And if
Okay.
they're on tomorrow, we'll do it tomorrow.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Or if they are on tomorrow, we'll do it twice if we need to. Assuming I actually join the show tomorrow.
There's also a Geico traffic. It looks like was one of the traffic things that's expired. I
Yep,
guess. So,
that's right. Yeah, it should not have run. Did it run?
no, it won't run anyway.
Gotcha. Yeah, Chris took care of that.
It's in the computer, but it's red.
Right. So that's how it should be. That was a late cancel, I think, because of the storm.
What?
He was talking about boats or something, and it does not come off well in a storm.
Isn't it more important to have insurance than a storm?
Yeah, but I think there might be some rules against advertising like that, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know how that went. I just know it was a late cancel. Everything all right?
Yeah. Actually, shot. Everything looks. I mean, my boat looks great. It's actually perfect. But it doesn't appear that any other boats were damaged or the dock is damaged. I went down both docks. So I think we got about 3 more hours. It looks like 10 o'clock, everything kind of moves out. But it was from about 3 to 5 a.m. It was wild out there. I mean, I like watching hurricanes. I don't like watching hurricanes when I've got personal property in line, but that was neat. I'm going to go change real quick, though, because it's raining.
Whoa. Angel Cabrera going to be in prison for 2 years.
For what?
Domestic assault.
American jail?
No. Argentina. Or Brazil. Buenos Aires is
Argentina. I'd like to go to Buenos Aires. It's huge. Pretty sure the population is like over 10 million. Yeah, 15 million.
wow.
It's a large city.
Jacob DeGrom back in June 1, but struck out 10 over 7, including his 1,500th strike in his career. After the game, DeGrom will not go into next week's All-Star game. The NBA Finals roll on tonight. The Suns host the Bucks in Phoenix. The first ever NBA title. The Suns took the opener by 13. The Dallas won after leading the series. Set for 9 p.m. Eastern. Wimbledon resumes this morning with the women's quarterfinals. The Falcons will top seeded Ash Barty playing for the 6th seed to the Killer. I know.
Rollins, Jim Wall here. Join me in the jungle weekdays at noon Eastern, exclusively on CBS Sports Radio.
We start with one of those Franks off the top here.
Yeah, any particular one you want?
6, please.
All right. That's a big stress reliever.
I hope all athletes make as much as they can, especially after the way lawmakers and the NCAA basically 2 weeks ago said, go at it. The way that they did that and just opened up the floodgates, I hope that these young people take every last copper penny or bronze or whatever makes pennies, every single last one they can get. I hope they clean house with it.
Carolina basketball coach Frank Martin weighing in on name, image, and likeness in this new NCAA era. Welcome into hour number 2 of the early game. Figured I'd hop in this hour, mix it up a little bit. Bill's in a good mood now after having visited the dock. Everything's okay out there with the boat on Lake Mary.
Yeah, surprisingly, all of the ones that stayed in the water appears to be pretty good. So it's misting out there. It's still gusting rain. I think from I've been up watching this since about 3 a.m. And from best I can tell, it looks like a lot of this will be moved out of the Midlands area, the Columbia area, sometime within the next 3 hours, closer to maybe 11 o'clock. And then we'll get some sporadic showers maybe throughout the day, but nothing like what's kind of transpired. I think Charleston got hit pretty good. Savannah looked like it got hit pretty good. Just be thankful it was a tropical storm and not an actual hurricane that rolled through.
Patrick Perrette helping to fill in for Jen Jensen in the downtown Herndon Chevrolet studios. Everything looking good on Gervais Street right now, sir?
Yeah, I mean, it's rainy, but I can see just kind of a tree line, and normally when there's a storm, they're really whipping, and there's almost no wind at the moment. So downside Columbia, it's just wet, but I think the wind is generally the worst part for me, and definitely not as bad here as the trees I can see in the background of Bill by the lake.
You guys surprised to hear what Frank Martin just said? He hopes athletes get every single penny they can get right now. Like, to me, that sounds like a sports talk radio show host. Or I was a bit surprised that Frank went that way. I guess I shouldn't be, knowing how he is not afraid to speak his mind. But to hear his comments yesterday, and I think the first time he was asked about it, his answer was like 6.5 minutes in a pretty lengthy media session yesterday, went about 45, 50 minutes or so, because we haven't heard from him in a while, and 5 transfers in, and the program had 7 transfers out. A lot's happened. But name, image, likeness right now is taking over college sports for sure. And to hear his thoughts, how he has been an advocate of this since 2010, when he saw a Fear of the Beard campaign for his Kansas State player Jacob Poland, and how he got $0 out of it, and basically it was shut down, and how he's been trying to warn decision makers, and now he seems fed up, and he said, yeah, I know of a 7-figure deal out there for a high school player right now, high school basketball player. It was kind of sobering, I think might be the best way to put it. It was an interesting perspective on name, image, and likeness right now for sure. Listening to Frank Martin yesterday, Bill, what are your thoughts, sir?
Well, I think the magnitude, the scope, whatever you want to say, of what the NCAA has allowed without guidelines or restrictions is now starting to set in. I think a week ago, as we did this on July 1, it was a week ago. You know, I kind of said, he was like, well, how big of a deal is this going to end up being long term or big picture? And I still don't know if it's a big deal, but what I don't know now is how you rein it back in. I'm not sure how. Normally when I do something like this or go on some kind of a rant like this, I'm like, all right, here's what I would do. Here's how I would go about structuring it and setting. I don't know what I would do. I think there's too many nuances to this. I think there's too many like just small little things that are easy to work around. I mean, again, Tim, what got us talking on this morning, yesterday, obviously we talked about Dan Lambert and his gym down in Miami, who basically comes out and just says, you know what? I don't care about a return on profit for this. I'm not doing this for my business. I'm doing this because I'm tired of hearing my buddies at Florida and Florida State brag about how good their football program is, and it's time to bring back the U. So, hey, it's open season. I'm paying these players, and I'm doing it under the structure of name, image, likeness. Today we discuss the news that came out yesterday about the Florida Panthers, the NHL hockey team, saying, yeah, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to limit it to local colleges, which is basically Miami and Florida Atlantic. Now, at least the Florida Panthers are saying, we might involve gymnasts, we might involve softball players. We're not going to be exclusive to just football. It seems like they have a plan here, and they're actually doing a business model of marketing. But it does again open the idea of, if you're an Atlanta Falcons, if you're a marketing rep, if you're a Carolina Panther marketing rep, do you want to reach out and try and gain a piece of the Columbia market? Do you want to try and have a Clemson player promote you? Why not? Why not give it a shot?
And again, the Florida Panthers saying they'll do it for social media. Basically, they'll get paid probably per post or per campaign is the quote that I'm reading there from the NHL team, which is I'm very surprised that a pro sports team is already in the mix and public about this. I guess maybe you have the opportunity to have more synergy or cooperation from the NFL if you're college football, because they're so intertwined. And we talked about the possibility of this coming up with the Carolina Panthers, like you mentioned, or whatever. I never would have seen hockey coming in on this. Wanted to let you hear one more comment from Frank Martin yesterday, just talking about the position that he's in right now as a college basketball coach.
The problem is usually you got a big black area and a big white area and a narrow gray area. The way this has been put together, it's a narrow black area, narrow white area, and a huge gray area. So the way this is rolling right now, Phil, we should just throw all the rules away. Go get players. Go get players. I don't care what you do. Go get players. Let them profit off their name, image, and likeness. Allow somebody to give them $10,000 for every year that they're in school, because it's buck wild right now. And I wish there's another word I can use. There's no other word to use for it.
Yes, we've heard it called the Wild Wild West, and Frank Martin saying buck wild, responding to a question from Phil Kornblut. There is why you heard him mention the name. Again, I don't even really know what to say from here, except that I can't believe that this is where we are, that this has become reality, that with all the time that NCAA decision makers had and lawmakers had as well, that it ended up going down like this. And now you've got college athletes literally cashing in with, like he's saying, basically next to no oversight and no rules. And college coaches are kind of left out in the lurch. All right, I think what do we do right now? How do we move forward? And that was the crazy part towards the end of yesterday's show, Bill. I was reading Ryan Brubaker's Inside the Commitment on Gamecock Central, and I felt like I was reading something from a different era. He was talking about the feel and the connection with the coaches, and then we're talking about players getting $500 a month deals already down in Miami, and just have no idea the type of impact this is going to make immediately right here in Columbia, and especially on Gamecock athletes, guys that Frank Martin will be coaching. It's crazy to me.
Well, and in listening to Frank, we've heard some other coaches come out, but I think Frank yesterday, as he always is, was probably the most honest about it across the country. Now, what's going to be entertaining to me is we'll wrap up this week, and we'll see if some other wild name, image, likeness situation pops up this afternoon that we discuss tomorrow morning. But you get into ACC, SEC media days, you get into college football media days across the board here starting in about the next 4 or 5 days. And these coaches, this is going to be the big topic. Some people are going to say, hey, how's your quarterback, who you got starting at quarterback? But this is going to be more of the topic. And I think it's going to be interesting to hear a wide-ranging, or is it going to be a wide-ranging opinions from coaches, or are they going to be unified in this? Because I think even the most staunch advocate for name, image, likeness has to be a little surprised at how this is now starting to play out. I think that's the crazy thing. Like, I really kind of, I don't want to say I didn't care. That wouldn't be the right word. But I was like, hey, I think this will be good. And I said last week, I think the people that will profit will be more the gymnasts, be more of the volleyball players, the 2 Fresno State women's basketball players.
It's a big time for the Olympians.
Yeah,
we see it all the time. swimmers and things like that, or gymnasts that are college athletes that don't have a chance to really make money in their sport. So if there's an Olympian that does really well, like a swimmer that's in college right now that wins 3 gold medals, they're going to come cash out in a couple weeks.
Well, think about this. Let's just throw this out there. Where do you define now the amateur status of a golfer who can now take a sponsorship, a collegiate golfer who can now take a sponsorship to go play in a professional golf event? I mean, that's
Good point.
I mean, what now you could have, I mean, you could go enjoy the college life. You could play your college schedule. And I guess during the summer, try and play in a couple tournaments while getting your education. And again, who's to say Ping doesn't sponsor a college golfer now and say, hey, stay in school for a few, like that. The crazy thing about that, maybe that benefits college golf. And who knows, we watch college golf slightly more now because you get people who decide to stay in. I don't know. I don't know if that has the impact or not, but that is an interesting part. That's one you would say like, hey, golf, where you can really, because here's the one thing, football players, I'm going to go with gymnasts, I'm going to go with basketball players, baseball players. If you sign something, you can't wear the logo on your jersey. Luke Doty this year can't, sign up with, or Bo Nix. Let's use Bo Nix because he did it. What was it? Milo Sweet Tea?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He can't have Milo Sweet Tea on his jersey. Now, what I guess he could do is score a touchdown, lift up his shirt, and have the gray, again, maybe he does that.
So
but if you're a golfer, you can wear your school logo during the school events, and then if you're signed with Ping or with whomever, you go play in a tournament. We see it all the time. What's the difference?
It's crazy to think about. And I appreciate Frank for saying, I think, what probably a lot of coaches feel and won't say, that he hopes the athletes just kind of stick it to the NCAA and lawmakers right now and take everything they can get because of the situation they put everybody in or how this all went down. 803-404-6100. Love to hear your thoughts on this. You can call or text. Up rolling on the video live stream as well, sponsored by Beaufort Lending on Facebook, YouTube, Live, Twitter. The station handles at 1075 The Game, where you can find the video stream. Thanks for being a part of the show on a Thursday morning. It's the early game. It's 1075 The Game.
1075 The Game
Clear.
Is on the air, online, on your phone or tablet, on the app, Alexa, Siri, in your gym locker.
And from the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center, Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality, shepherdsglass.com. Multiple incidents starting to come in right now. Going to start in Northeast Columbia, where there's a crash with injuries on Polo Road and Two Notch Road. There's some fallen power cables on Harmon Road and Gar.
Sorry, you
a
talk.
lot worse. Tim, you remember that morning you came in? That was a hurricane, I think, or was it a tropical storm? And it blew out the window or the cardboard box that we had, whatever.
Yep.
I think I got the phone call as the show ended that my downstairs had flooded.
Right. Wasn't the window already broken downtown and they had like plywood
That's
up there?
Plywood
in, I think.
Plywood. Yeah, the window had been broken and they had a plywood piece and it blew out. And we had that security guard that great security guard that was very confused by the whole situation.
Right. Well, the most recent deal is that we need a security guard for the security guard. Apparently there was a new one the other day who just wandered in the station and one of the stations went off the air. How about that?
So he just wandered in and then it randomly went off the air?
No, I think he touched something or hit a button and nothing. Sonny, easy with the language. This is a family show. The all caps dag nabbit might be a little too edgy. Sorry for your tomato plants.
Are you guys a BLT fan? Do y'all eat BLTs?
No.
Y'all.
What? How can you not be a BLT fan? I thought everybody was.
Can't do tomatoes.
Really? Is it a heartburn thing? An acid thing?
It's it's just, I love everything tomato-y. I love marinara sauce, ketchup, Bloody Marys, but it's something about just the juiciness of them. I get a chills and goosebumps when I eat right into a tomato.
What?
Yeah,
Well, he is big carrot.
yeah.
Not
I'm
big
getting
tomato.
better. I mean, it's gotten better.
But, but hold up, as you explained that, I thought you were gonna say like, yeah, it messes up my stomach, or I get gout, or like you get chills and goosebumps. Like,
Physical reaction.
Yeah, physical reaction. It's gotten better though. Like I'm now to the point I try to just power through them. But now like if I order, the last thing I ate with tomatoes was I got a buffalo chicken wrap and I asked for no tomatoes, but they still put tomatoes, but they were diced real small. So I was able to just power through and eat it with the tomatoes, and I was okay.
you're able to power. I like how you had to power through.
Well, I have a physical reaction to them, so it's gotten better. But no, not a BLT.
Wow.
I've just never been a BLT. I've never been a huge tomato fan, but I'm kind of coming around on them, and I think this weekend for like lunch, we're gonna give it a try. I should have a sandwich maker that's coming in today.
A what?
Well, it's not really for a BL. I mean, you could make it you could heat it up, I reckon. But it's kind of like a grilled cheese maker. I bought it for the kids for like
yeah.
it's just
like a panini thing.
Yeah, but it's not a panini. Panini press.
Just a general sandwich press. Yeah, everything's better.
Little sandwich press. Basically for grilled cheese, or I used to when I was growing up, I'd put turkey and cheese in there, make it more of a hot sandwich.
Literally anything that you're making on bread, if you put it in the press, is going to be better.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, even if it's peanut butter and jelly, don't care. Put it on a press will be better.
Ooh, I don't know about that.
Let's do 4 coming back, please, Patrick.
Okay.
I'll do a quick liner first.
We're about to do old timey.
Okay. What is that? A croque monsieur? Is that what the French call it? The hot ham and cheese? I think that's it. We basically used to just do that in French class back in high school.
Just make hot ham and cheese?
Croque monsieur. Yeah. I'm pretty sure those are technically French names for them.
I may have to turn this around. I get a little look at what's going on.
You're not missing anything. We'll let you know if there's a massive tidal wave coming at you.
Thank you. I'm sure these doors are sturdy enough to uphold for that.
Thank you, Dick. Again, weird me out with the text messages in from the video stream. Must not want to reveal his social media identity. I mean, you can just make up a YouTube account, right?
Yeah.
Good. I think you can make up a Facebook page. I don't think anyone's stopping you from creating a catfish Facebook page that you use.
It's a lot of work.
We have nameless, faceless commenters. DC, we don't know who DC is.
Right.
That's true.
Who knows if it's his real initials?
That's a good point. He said he was up at 2 a.m. working outside this morning before you got up.
Right.
He was up early.
Right.
So, little liner here and then 4.
You're up.
We love hearing from you during our shows. If you feel the need to get out a gas baggy hot take, maybe not during our shows, maybe you just don't want to hold it all, you can just hit up our hot take hotline. It's there for you 24/7, sponsored by Twin Peaks. 803-978-6654 is the number when you need an event. The hot take hotline is there for you. Twin Peaks, for the men who never settle. Go see them down in the Vista at 600 Gervais Street. Right now, I want to let you hear a little bit more from Frank Martin yesterday, weighing in on name, image.
There's a high school kid right now that has a 7-figure offer on the table if he goes to a certain school, and it's there's no. I'm all for people making money. I don't care how you do it. Go make money, man. That's what the beauty of this country's about. That it gives you the freedom to choose what you want to do and to profit off your ideas. My family couldn't make money off their work. That's why they left Cuba to come here. And, it's a free for all right now.
Getting Frank Martin weighed in on name, image, and likeness yesterday with strong opinions, as I would expect. And I think that's the difficult part for all of us, right? I think most of us believe in the capitalist ideals of America, and I understand there is a segment of sports fan that says, oh, this is the end of college athletics and amateur athletics, and it's doom and gloom, and nothing will be the same. But I think most of us out there realize when you got billions of dollars involved, this deal for the players hadn't quite been fair for a while. And the least you can let them do is cash in on their name, image, and likeness. But now to have started this thing with basically no oversight or guidelines or guardrails, this is where we're at. And the more we talk about it, Bill, and the more days that go by, the more examples that pop up. Like, let me hit you with this one. This popped up on social media last night, and I retweeted it. 1 week into name, image, likeness in the NCAA, the Miami quarterback De'Aaron King, the transfer from Houston, has signed a deal for $20,000. Started a podcast, developed a website, created his own custom apparel, founded a name, image, and likeness marketplace that we were talking about originally with that partnership that he has with the Florida State quarterback Mackenzie Milton, the UCF transfer. Added a creative director and started plans to split money with teammates. I didn't see all this happening so quickly. Maybe I should have. I think Frank's point yesterday was that he's been trying to warn decision makers that it was going to go down pretty dramatically, and they needed to have some guidelines and rules in place, and there's just nothing.
Why are either of those things so? Why is I mean, when people, it's jarring to hear 7 figures, but I mean, Jalen Green was the number 2 player in this 2020 class. Would have been a freshman. He was only behind Cade Cunningham. He made over $500,000 to go to the G League. So when people start talking about, like, depending on what your argument is it these kids aren't responsible and shouldn't have that much money at that young of an age? Because if the kid decides to go pro, he can make $1 million from the overtime league or almost $1 million from the G League. Do we want them to play college basketball? Because that's what it's going to cost now. Like, this is maybe college basketball's best chance to keep the kids that could just make millions of dollars at 18 or 19 years old in college basketball, and it's also good for the kids because college basketball is still undoubtedly the best path to being a top pick in the NBA draft. Like, as far as I can remember, it was Brandon Jennings that was the first one to decide I'm going overseas instead of doing the one and done in college. And none of those guys have been number 1 picks yet. So if the number 1 player, if you want to convince him that college basketball is actually the best avenue for him, then that's what you have to do to keep these kids. So is that what people want? They just want to say, all right, we're done with this college basketball. We'll just take the kids that can't go pro right away, or are we okay with the 7 figures? Because he said it like it's just horrible. Like, the way he said 7 figures sounded like it was the worst thing ever. But I mean, that's the price these kids cost on the open market. Just what it is now.
I think what we heard from Frank was a frustration in that this is where college basketball has gotten to. As opposed to, I mean, we also heard him say that he hopes that the athletes make all the money they can off of it too. Yeah. So that's the conundrum, the struggle in my mind is like, yes, capitalism, good. NCAA athletics, good. The merge right now, the merger of the two, it doesn't seem to be the best way it could have happened is all. Bill, it sounded like you wanted to weigh in on that. That just to hear a college basketball coach talk about a 7-figure offer for someone, and then and now have to still recruit under basically the old rules when this entire marketplace is out there. That's what Frank, I think that frustration he's talking about or dealing with.
We are, as a whole, and this will more pertain to sports, but we're not a society that handles change well. And so let's just use sports as the example. The day of being shocked that a player is skipping a bowl game is over, right? But what was it? McCaffrey and Fournette were the first two really to do it. There was guys before them, but that's really when it started. We were like, how can these guys be so selfish? How will this impact their draft status? Well, now when a player skips a bowl game, you're like, yeah, they actually surprised someone. You're actually more surprised an elite prospect is staying to play a meaningless bowl game than you are he's skipping it, right?
Yes, for sure.
See how we've adjusted? Okay, yeah, we've adjusted from that. But when it initially happened, we were shocked. We were appalled by it. This guy has no loyalty to his teammates. He has no loyalty to the program. What about the fans that are traveling? It's different now. And I think this is going to be the same way. We're shocked. And Patrick, you asked it just because we haven't seen it. You make a good point. We were discussing this, a year ago, when you started to see the top college basketball players saying, you know what, not going to go to college. I can go straight. The NBA stepped in with the G League, so we're going to pay you. You can come play in our system. You can go into the draft. You can get real coaching. You don't have to worry about the academic side of school. This is what you've been wanting. And because it was kind of out of the limelight, nobody noticed the guys who were going to do it. Yeah, Craig, I could be wrong. The G League could be televised on ESPN too. I have zero clue. Yeah, exactly. The face you made on the live stream says it all. Yeah. So we didn't see those guys. Those guys are out of sight, out of mind. You don't notice them. This is in plain view right there in front of us. It's now being smacked in our face every day. You log on to ESPN, you turn onto a sports talk show, it's being discussed. And it's guys doing something that we haven't seen ever happen. I think one of y'all brought it up. Jeremy Bloom was the one that I remember from years ago, the Colorado, I think he was a wide receiver, but he was well known for returning punts, but he was an Olympic skier. And he couldn't take endorsements for skiing because it would have affected his college eligibility. And, I just remember vaguely kind of all that kind of going down and some things of that nature. But the only reason I bring that up is now we're being smacked with this every day. And it's such a change from everything we know about college athletics. People will get accustomed to it. And at some point, I think they're going to find a way to regulate some of it. But, man, I think I'm more amazed, I think would be the right word, at how far they let this go without the NCAA or anybody stepping in and saying, okay, we've got to have a better handle on this before we just turn it loose on July 1.
Well, Chris hits us up with the few rules that are in effect, the few guidelines with from the NCAA perspective, saying schools cannot discuss it as a recruiting tool and no name, image, and likeness deal can be signed contingent on you going to a certain school. But Chris, we all know this is just the rule, and it's an easy workaround. An absolutely easy workaround. RJ said, I tried to tell you guys, but you were clueless. It's going to be the Wild West. Players will be purchased to go to school. RJ, you sound like the clueless one. They will be purchased to go to school? This has never happened before? You kidding me? I mean, how often and how many different ways do we talk about Zion Williamson and everything that turned into with Duke? Because as you were talking about the number one player in basketball, that's who I immediately thought of, Patrick. A guy like that.
Yeah.
Timbo says, while there's loads of money in college sports via the Cool Care Heating and Air text line, when did the donors pay more to the players and begin to take away from their collegiate support system? I love to hear Frank Martin speak truths, Timbo concludes. He's one of the few coaches that will. And that's part of some of what we talked about yesterday, how you have to now make a decision if you're a big dumb donor, booster, where the money goes to exactly where it used to only have one option being donated to the athletic department. Go ahead, Patrick.
I was thinking of something else that Frank said where he was talking about the dynamics of the locker room, where if you're a 2 or 3 year player and you get a $100 sock deal, and then a freshman comes in with $100,000 or a 7-figure deal or whatever, how that could be problematic. But I just don't see that at all. Like, if a Zion Williamson decided to come to South Carolina, we think that some of the seniors on the team would be upset how much money he was making. Like, absolutely not. One, they'd be excited to have more attention on the program because it means more eyeballs and more money for them potentially. And then also, if you have a teammate making $1 million at 18 years old, you think Zion's not going to say, "Hey, dinner's on me tonight, guys. Like,
Right.
I'll buy pizzas for the boys." Like, it's going to benefit everybody. It's like that exact dynamic happens in the NFL, and everyone loves it. When one guy eats, everybody eats. Like,
Well-
everyone wants their teammates to make more money.
Well, to an extent, we've also seen the situation where, what is it? The veterans take out the rookie who signed the big contract, and you end up seeing the ridiculous bar tab they leave the rookie with. And so, I mean, you can see where it works both ways. What I do find interesting is I think it was the 30 for 30 broke, and it's not something that I think we can maybe people can relate to this. I don't know, but when you're in a small locker room that's 10 to 15, 20 people max, when you talk about that, and they were discussing players and the differences in salaries that we don't understand. And they were also talking about like the NFL, where you've obviously got a 55-man roster and locker room, but like you've got like the third string running back who wants to party like the starting quarterback, who's making 20 million more dollars than he is, and he can't do it every night, and then he gets into financial trouble. And I just wonder, like you said, you get a big time athlete who comes in, and maybe now he's got a little extra money, wants to spend it, and all of a sudden you get the other guy who wants to either latch on or try and spend like he is, and then gets in trouble. It's so many things that I think I've read about professionally that it'll be interesting how it trickles down to the college level.
No doubt about it. But I think Frank's point yesterday was that he's the guy that has to manage it, and he never thought that would be part of his job as a college basketball coach, and not being able to do anything about it, because you're not supposed to have that contingent upon signing a scholarship and be part of recruiting the whole thing. I think that's where he was coming from. We'll let you hear a little bit more from Frank Martin and his comments yesterday, name, image, and likeness especially, but also about how he's feeling and where the Carolina basketball program is. Love to hear from you at 803-404-6100. It's the early game. It's 107.5 The Game.
It's a new year.
They're hungry, they're driven,
in a new attitude.
I want guys that want to be here, not just going out there to hire some guy that has a famous last name.
It's not some retreads. We're a bunch of guys that I think are ready to prove to people that we can do some special things here.
New attitude.
I do believe that things are always meant to be.
Welcome home.
My parents went to school here. This is it. There's no other job in the country I would have left for. But to be right here.
The home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game.
This afternoon, after doing the talk show and then watching the tropical storm that has passed through, thankfully, Sleep Number Bed, I will get a fantastic nap. Normally I get a great night of sleep each and every night, but a little tropical storm had me up watching that all night. So the nap is in order for today. Put that Sleep Number setting on 45. It'll be just like getting a great night of sleep. It'll just occur after 9 a.m. You can do the same. You can take your own nap. That's right. You can get a Sleep Number Bed. Find out what naps during the middle of the day are all about, and it's fantastic. I'm telling you, I'm taking several naps. I'm a big napper. It is something that you definitely got to try if you haven't. So make the switch to Sleep Number today. Whether you want a great night of sleep or a great afternoon nap, now is the time to do it. Discover proven quality sleep during our lowest prices of the season sale. All Sleep Number 360 smart beds are on sale starting at $899, but only for a limited time. 2 Sleep Number stores to choose from. One in Irmo and Harbison Boulevard, the other in Columbia, 2 Notch Road across from Sand Hills Mall. You can visit them on the web, sleepnumber.com. Again, the lowest prices of the season sale. All Sleep Number 360 smart beds are on sale starting at $899. Don't miss this. Go visit one of those 2 stores today. Make the switch to Sleep Number and find out what a great night of sleep is truly like. All right, a little bit more coffee. Oh, Pat, Tim, it's on you. I was going to make a comment to Patrick there.
I deserve it. Yep, I hear you, RL. I think there'll be some of that, what Frank was talking about, people being bitter in the locker room, but I think there's some of that already, just with the attention that new players get as opposed to older players. The stars attached to a guy. the pro evaluations or scouting report. This is just another factor. But I think there is also like these guys that have already come up with a plan to share stuff with their teammates or the whole deal. I think that's genius and has the opportunity to have a really positive effect too. It's easy to get stuck on the negative part of it.
You're not getting any rain from this, Tim, or you're not expected to?
No, it looks like it's just started raining here in the last 10 minutes or so at my house. And I think it's supposed to all day. Right.
What was the tension?
Just that Lattimore was the star. I don't know. Certainly plenty of a power dynamic when Jadeveon Clowney signs. You know he's not getting paid. What?
Was that
called out he and Ellington for not practicing hard or whatever?
Was the tension well known when Marcus Lattimore was here?
No, not put that way anyway.
Patrick, I tried to read about these people that are still in Wimbledon. I hadn't heard of most of them. I mean, it made me realize how little I followed tennis yesterday when I started reading.
Federer lost yesterday. Not going to be good for the ratings. All right, we're back. You're up.
The summer of 2021, we're going to always remember this thing as name, image, and likeness taking over the sports conversation from our perspective, aren't we? I mean, the summer that it happened and how it continues to evolve or eventually looks or what guidelines are eventually made or sweeping kind of federal legislation or NCAA rules across the board that rein this thing in. I think that's, don't you think that eventually has to happen, Bill, in some form or fashion, just to get some control, I guess is the best way to put it, or just to keep from what Frank Martin was talking about yesterday, how it's the Wild West and there's 7-figure deals out there. And absolutely this is trickling into recruiting is the main problem, even though by the letter of the law or the theory that it's not supposed to have an impact.
Yeah, and it will. And I'm interested to see how it kind of continues to evolve. And like I said, if there's something that pops out today where you got, I mean, because you feel like we're just sitting around waiting on Florida State boosters to say, you know, oh, we've come up with a corporation that says hold the U down, where we're gonna something stupid. And I think to a level, maybe in something like this, you almost have to turn it loose and let it be the Wild West so that you see all angles of it. You see everything that can go completely wrong, and then try to reel in those angles. Because I don't know how you put it all back in the box. You're never going to get name, image, likeness to go away. It's here to stay. But again, the guidelines you have to put for this, I almost think the more that we discuss it, the more I see people talking about it on the text line or calling in, you almost have to say, all right, what are all the really bad ramifications of this? Okay, now how do we go about correcting that? And it's going to be kind of interesting if they open it up to bringing coaches in who want to talk about issues, whether it be in the locker room or on the recruiting trail or wherever it may be, or if it's, you know, university presidents, if it's university athletic directors who are saying, well, wait a minute now, I just lost $1 million donor who normally helps us upgrade the facilities because now he wants to just take his money and donate it to a player and have said player endorse his business. I think it's all going to be very interesting. There's a part of me that still doesn't think it's going to be as bad as it has initially started out to be. That this thing is they're going to kind of figure things out. But early on, it is entertaining to watch here with not a lot else to be discussing or paying attention to. in regards to the sporting world.
But now that it's like the biggest story in sports, I think there's a lot of people that are just jumping in because they want to have their name as a part of the central story. When we're a couple years into it and it's commonplace for athletes to get social media endorsements and things like that, I don't think there's going to be as much money. There's not going to be guys coming in just burning money because they want their programs to be better. I think there is definitely an attention-seeking part of this first wave of NIL.
Well, especially in the Miami situation, I'm with you on that. I'm wondering how many other organizations or corporations have been made and have been done quietly because they understand that the loud ones will be discussed and there will probably be rules developed because of that. What about, I feel like the smart power brokers in the world are always the quiet ones, the ones behind the scenes that you don't know, or behind the curtain pushing all the buttons and making things happen. So what about all of those guys or all of those now corporations that have popped up? Maybe this will bring back more investigative journalism in the college sports landscape, and we'll learn more about those as the weeks continue to go or as trends develop, right? If we see certain athletes maybe from a certain area decide to go to a school that we've never really thought about before, or a certain school pop up with a lot better players than they have in the past. Maybe we'll see that happen. It's just, maybe we're not good at change as college sports fans, but this change just seems to be so monumental that it's hard to wrap my brain around it right now. And to hear a well-respected college basketball coach like Frank Martin talk about it, who's been in the game a long, long time, and to hear his frustration with the NCAA not putting anything in place, with lawmakers not really putting anything into place. We'll let you hear more from Frank as we continue to move on this morning. Love to hear more from you as well. Several of you weighing in. This will hurt perennial cheaters, our last texter says. Trey says, would Oscar Delp be interested in sitting down with Darla Moore? Tight end prospect. I know a lot of Gamecock fans hoping that the situation will benefit Shane Beamer's recruiting class. But it was also interesting hearing from Brian Steele yesterday, newly promoted assistant coach, former Gamecock basketball player, talk about the need to recruit your own players every single day. I feel like this name, image, and likeness situation might escalate that even more, to where even when you have guys signed, even when they're in the program, you need to make sure they are continually happy with this one-time transfer rule. Otherwise, they're certainly talking to other players at other programs and seeing other situations. And I would think the lure to jump to another school or another program would be that much stronger now that name, image, likeness, money is involved. The discussion continues here on the early game. It's 175.
Clear.
A lot of money discussion today as it pertains to college athletics. If you'd like to save some money and make your house that much better, I recommend you head out to the airport. Check out Daniel's Fine Furniture and Bedding. They're at the back of the airport there. Just go and walk in. It's an impressive store. I just walked in the other day, and knowing that it's been locally owned by Daniel and June Clark, been serving the Midlands for the last 25 years, is one of the reasons why I recommend you head there. The other big time reason is that when you walk in there, I just got the feel that, hey, this is not some kind of big box, faceless, nameless store. This is a place where I can actually know the name of the person I'm dealing with, and they're going to treat you like family. They're known for the 3 Bs, the best furniture, the best service, and the best price, especially if you're looking for motion furniture out there. I didn't even know it was called motion furniture, but that's the recliners, things that move. It took me a little while to figure it out, but I finally did. A reclining sofa, the leather gallery they have there with the love seats and the whole deal. You'd love to just go and check it out. And the great thing about Daniel's Fine Furniture Bedding, if you see it on the floor there, you can buy it. It's that simple. It doesn't have to necessarily be a part of a package. You can make up your own deal. You see something over here, and then you see something over there. They put those together. They will treat you like family. and work for you. They're not going to treat you like a number or just another nameless, faceless person walking into a big box store. Remember, when it's time to save, it's time for Daniel's Fine Furniture and Bedding, 3911 Edmond Highway in West Columbia. It looks very ominous, Bill. Checking it out.
Yeah, so I was just kind of. I think the wind has finally shifted. It's been good. The wind was blowing into me all night long out of the feet. And it looks like it's shifting around in the west. And see, I'm protected. If it'll come from the west, protection here with land and the condos. It is fun to watch, though. Let's see what's on the old radar here. Oh yeah. Back. Yeah, Sonny, I see that your wife is joining in the shenanigans.
Well done. Well done, Causies.
Did she subscribe though?
Great question.
Yeah, good question.
I'm sure Sonny schooled her up. He seems like a savvy social media guy, savvy YouTube subscriber. Sonny is excused, Terry. Thank you for apologizing for him. You don't need to do that in the future. And good luck now, Sonny, that she's tracked you down on the live stream.
So, are y'all familiar with Rufus the Hawk?
Can't say the name.
Patrick?
Who's that?
He is a Harris Hawk used by the All England Lawn and Tennis and Croquet Club to keep pigeons away from their venue. Survived as an important member of the Wimbledon family, Rufus has been scaring away the birds for 15 years, taking over for the previous hawk, Hamish.
Actually, Hamish, I think it's how that's pronounced.
I mean,
fine.
You can't have pigeons pooping all over.
This is true. I've got breakfast at Wimbledon on over here, and they're going through all the traditions, and they were showing the hawks. And I was like, what in the world is that?
Well, we're back.
Let's do number one, please.
Who I am, depending on my environment. I'm always who I am. And last year, the environment didn't allow me to be who I am. And so, it's for me personally, it's fun to be able to function to what I think is a strength.
10, you're up.
Mine, which is be around people, not just to try and impact people, but people impact me. And that allows me to do my job a little bit better.
Frank Martin, lengthy media session yesterday, speaking about where the Gamecock basketball program is, and just that specific comment talking about the stark difference, contrast between this year and last year, just for him personally, having dealt with COVID twice last year, and all the protocols that were in place, and Frank made sure to mention that it obviously wasn't just his program and everybody had to deal with it, but how his management style just didn't work with that. And there was an effect on the season with the 6-15 year, and there was doubt on the team and a lack of trust, and that he had never really been part of that. And this year's group already, with 7 transfers out and 5 transfers in, a 3 or 4 man freshman class that he's excited about, has the vibe feeling much better around Gamecock basketball. Bill, what do you make of the assessment of the program right now, hearing it from Frank yesterday?
Yeah, Patrick and I talked about it in kind of an hour number one there at the beginning. As a whole, not just basketball, I think Patrick agreed with me. We've never seen a sports season like this where I don't know what to expect from football, and I really, really don't know what to expect from basketball. I mean, I have no clue.
Saying you've never seen it before, coming off of a COVID restricted kind of year. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I don't think we know what it really to expect from the football team. And I mean, there's a lot of questions about Luke Doty. The 4 of us, Jen included, from going out there and putting up about 24 points and 400 yards. Basketball, thought they'd be better last year. They weren't. I understand there were issues, but now you put 7 new faces on the roster, and I don't know what to expect.
Wow, sounds like that doubt that Frank was talking about on his team has really seeped over to you. Can we nail you down for hour number 3, or should we doubt that you're even going to attend?
Yeah, I'll probably hang around. I'm better at showing up for hour 3 than you are for hour 1.
Ha!
But
Well played, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sonny. You'll make sure she subscribes. I thought that was a given already. So did you stay up and watch the hockey game last night, Bill?
I did. I stayed all the way up, watched Steven Stamkos give his interview. Voice did not match the person that I was expecting.
What'd you expect?
More of a
Deep?
Ovechkin type. I mean, if you're missing a tooth, and I don't know, where is Stamkos even from?
Canadian. He's not Russian.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Just the voice, I don't know. I'd never heard him talk, and I expected a little bit more Ovechkin than I did Stamkos when he started to speak, so I was a little caught off guard.
Did Vasilevsky talk?
No, he didn't. Or if he did, I'd already turned it off. I saw NBC. I turned it off before they presented the trophy. Andy was there, my buddy. He sent videos after. I need to call him after the show, check on him. I'm pretty sure he is definitely not awake at this point.
I hope the parade is on Sunday. That'd be sweet.
That would be cool.
Vasilevsky is so sick. I mean, he had 4. He pitched a shutout in all of their series clinching games.
Well, they showed his stats like the last 2 years after a loss, maybe, or maybe it's the last 3 years or something. He's 13-0.
Yeah,
with like a 1.29 goal given up ratio. Something ridiculous that was.
They're insane.
Carey Price played really. I mean, Carey Price kept the Canadians in it last.
Yeah,
I don't know enough about hockey but they were so bad on power plays last night. They almost gave up 3 goals when they had power plays.
Montreal, yeah. I mean, they're just not an offensive juggernaut. Their whole thing was killing penalties. It was their deal, but
they knew how to kill their own penalties too.
It was a pretty pathetic offensive performance from them.
I was going to add, I didn't understand. So I guess it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me to dump the puck all the way in there and then try and race down, because it felt like they can never do that.
Well, yeah, I mean, Tampa's honestly just way too good for them. Tampa's just filthy. They're top to bottom. They're so good.
Well, I saw an article on Twitter this morning claiming they are the next great hockey dynasty.
Well, it should have been. They should have been. This should be their 4th or 5th Stanley Cup with this core. I mean, they had the most points ever in a regular season, and they got swept in the first round of the playoffs
Yeah, that was
3
great.
years ago. It was one of the wildest things I've seen. But
Yeah. That was crazy. I got Pat Maroon last night. That was his third straight Stanley Cup victory.
Yep. Yeah, and people were not happy with him leaving St. Louis because he's from St. Louis and he won with the Blues, and it was an incredible thing for the Blues to win the Stanley Cup, and he bailed on him for Tampa. Clearly made the right decision.
Well, yeah, it worked out.
The big
Yeah,
rig.
yeah. It was a good game. I was pulling for Montreal just because I wanted something to watch Friday night. Like that'd have been nice to grill out and have a game to watch. But
Kucherov said that their championship was last series, and it kind of seemed that way. They were just completely outclassed in the finals. It was kind of a bummer.
yeah, I agree. That's why I was kind of pulling for Vegas or even the Islanders to win if the Canadians were going to win. Yeah, I don't. Ashley Barty versus she's the number one at Wimbledon. Is that you? I mean,
no.
And I guess Federer is going to retire after getting just walloped yesterday.
Yeah, he's I think 38.
Well, he's 39. That was his last major in his 40s.
Yeah.
Hey, I came ready if we were going to talk England, Denmark, Stanley Cup, or Wimbledon. I was ready this morning.
I just read about the state of emergency in Tokyo that the International Olympic Committee chairman landed to yesterday. So we have our international bases covered, I think, this morning.
Yeah. That's only for basically Japanese people, though, because they're not even letting in families or friends of Olympians.
Right.
Craig must have liked Asheville.
Mm-hmm.
Dan, are you heading to Asheville or Tokyo?
Just headed back there.
Why is it Austin, Texas East? There's no music scene in Nashville.
I haven't been to Asheville. It's been years.
We were quite underwhelmed when we went. I need to go back. Not with my family.
Well, that's yeah.
I mean, it's not like we didn't do things. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Nashville is more Austin East.
Yeah.
Maybe Austin is Nashville West.
Yeah,
Yeah, Asheville, Jim. We got it. Oh, you're headed back to Asheville. My bad.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if he was heading. Maybe he was hopping on a plane to Tokyo, or he was going to go catch England, Denmark.
Yeah, I mean it's very pretty up there in the
Not
mountains,
England,
but I didn't think there was that much to do.
Well, you're not an outdoorsy guy.
No, I am. I don't like sitting
Sun?
out. Yeah, I don't like the sun. I definitely don't like beaches. But I mean, I'll sit outside at a brewery all day if there's cover. I'm happy to do that.
So I would have thought Asheville would be a perfect fit. What was the problem?
That's just you can do that anywhere, I think, and we just didn't think it was that cool.
So Bill Plaschke put up an article yesterday. This just shows where baseball's
that
at.
was far.
There's not a bunch to talk about.
Asheville. So even if I go back, I'm not sure how I'm going to swing it because some of them were like it's a 20-minute or a $20 Uber to get there, and I'm not paying $40 round trip to go pay $100 at a brewery.
Gotcha. What were you saying, Bill?
I was reading this. Bill Plaschke put up an article, and it just goes to show where baseball's at. He says the question is now: is Shohei Ohtani having the best individual season in baseball history?
Who?
Shohei. You know Shohei.
How do you say his name?
Shohei.
Really? I don't know. Well, there you go. There's proof. Nobody knows how to say his name.
Yeah, I thought Craig and Jan were just talking about the hippies. I think they are. Weirdness of the people.
Yeah, it is a very artsy place.
How about number 3 to start here, Patrick? Hearing through the headphones. Wow.
I got it in preview. I can hear it in the headphones. So we have carries, so we're going to be shorter in these segments,
call.
right?
And just 2 breaks?
Yeah.
Morning, Hope. Only beat you by about an hour.
I believe I've shared with you guys that I've been a big advocate behind the scenes on allowing this to happen since 2010. And I've been trying to convince decision makers that we needed to be proactive.
You're up.
Ideas on how to make this happen because it wasn't right.
Frank Martin weighing in on name, image, and likeness yesterday as an advocate for players to cash in on this. And then at the same time now saying it's a free for all. Letting us in on the word around the college basketball recruiting circles that there's a 7-figure offer out there for a player right now. Obviously, the theory that being able to cash in on name, image, and likeness, how that should not affect recruiting, clearly is not happening in reality. Welcome into hour number 3. Hope your Thursday morning's off to a good start. Bill is feeling even better right now, sitting just off of Lake Murray. I think that the storm would you say it's calming down? Has calmed down? You wouldn't say it's passed, right? But you would say
it's calmed. It's a lot
calmed down
different than it was at 4 a.m. this morning when we were getting the brunt of it. We were getting the brunt. We were getting the worst part that we were going to get. The storm stayed to the east, and I haven't really looked at the news all that much. It looked at about 4 a.m. per the radar this morning. It looked that places to the east of us, maybe down I-26 toward Charleston, got the absolute worst of Elsa here as it came through the state of South Carolina. Savannah, I think, got hit pretty hard down there in Georgia. So we'll see. Hopefully everybody's safe this morning. Patrick read a traffic report that didn't sound very good a little while ago. So hopefully everybody's safe and just kind of not trying to be Superman or be anybody special on the roads this morning. Just get to where you're going, but be safe doing it, because it is, and it looks like it's going to, if I'm looking at the radar and reading it properly, it looks like everything will slowly move out of here within the next about 3 hours and be gone by 11 o'clock, and then maybe some sporadic showers throughout the day.
And Patrick helping to fill in for Jen Jensen, producing from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios in downtown. You're looking out on Gervais Street right now and looking just a little wet and not too bad.
Yeah. I'm seeing nothing. I can't even tell if it's raining at this point. Earlier, when it was raining hard, the puddles were jumping up, and now it looks very calm out there. So definitely wet roads, definitely puddles all over the place, but I think the worst of it's definitely past here.
Jan,
yeah, the worst is definitely past here. As I just look, it looks like it's crossing the border, and Raleigh is kind of in the crosshairs now as it kind of moves up the eastern seaboard. There we'll see kind of what it does, but hopefully everybody will be safe, especially if you're north of us this morning. Northeast, I guess, is where it looks the worst as it heads toward like Dillon and Latta. I think I saw a tornado warning for Dillon until about 5 o'clock this afternoon. So hopefully everybody will be safe that way.
So the seriousness of a storm like this always helps to keep our conversation, I feel like, in perspective. Talking a lot about name, image, and likeness. You just heard Frank Martin weigh in on that. He had extensive comments yesterday in a pretty lengthy media session that included kind of resetting his program. And I was that really kind of stuck out to me, Bill. You mentioned that it was going to be a reset for the Gamecock basketball program after this year, no matter what. And Frank getting into it, he said exactly that. We have hit the reset button, and talking about the honest discussions, I think is how he put it, with the people that make decisions above him after the season, and then moving forward now with a bit of a reshuffled coaching staff, now that Bruce Shingler's moved on to Maryland, and Brian Steele has jumped in as an assistant coach, and then they've moved another former player into the video coordinator role and the whole thing. And then the reshuffled roster for sure. 7 transfers out, 5 transfers in, new recruiting class in. The guys in Keyshawn Bryant and Jermaine Couisnard, who tested the NBA draft waters and now returned. And what really stuck out to me yesterday, not only the name, image, likeness stuff, which we'll continue to discuss this morning, but also the fact that Frank seemed to be much more comfortable with the situation his team was in being back to quote normal, or not having the protocols in place and all the restrictions from last year, and being very, very honest, saying that his management style just didn't work with the situation they were in last year. And he's optimistic with the influx of new guys that this year's team will be able to be a lot more like the teams we've seen Frank Martin coach with South Carolina in the past, as opposed to last year's struggling team that we saw kind of game in and game out and finish with a 6-15 record.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not in a position to question Frank on his team or what was going on behind the scenes last year. I think we did all agree at the time that having experience, having guys that had been together for 2, 3, 4 years should have paid dividends at that point, and should have been something that in a situation where maybe your head coach isn't around as much, that the players have a better understanding. But maybe that wasn't the case, and maybe there was some selfishness on the team. Maybe there was an issue that we're just not ever going to find out about. But the bottom line is, when you add 7 new players, it makes me very interested to see the team. It also doesn't lend to high expectations for what the team will be.
And I feel like in the past, that's worked out well for Frank Martin and the Gamecocks being under the radar a little bit today, or a little bit in the past. Wanted this morning right now to let you hear a little bit more from Frank about his own situation, obviously having gone through COVID last year and struggled personally with his health.
I'm all for honesty. I applaud the people I answered to for the honest conversation that I was, that I had behind closed doors. And once those conversations ended, and I realized that, you know what, they still want me here, that reinvigorated me. That got me excited again about, my health is good. I had people come up to me and say, "Hey man, are you going to quit coaching? Are you kidding me? This is the only thing I've ever done in my life. I'm 55 years old, not 75. And I just had a bad year with my health."
And you guys talked about it earlier, having gone through last year and not knowing exactly what to expect. I think the same is fair, having watched Frank have to deal with that kind of in front of all of us and on TV, as much as he did just missing the one LSU game, but seeing just a much different kind of sideline demeanor and a much different guy. I know a lot of us out here wishing him well, and just to see him back in kind of press conference form was a good sign yesterday. I feel like it certainly makes for much more an entertaining conversation around Gamecock basketball, and I feel like a much more entertaining environment, and one where I think Gamecock fans can expect more from this year's team. Now, doing it with the different faces and not having the relationship with guys outside of Keyshawn Bryant and Jermaine Couisnard, Levesque down low, and a couple of other guys. You talked about Josh Gray, the LSU transfer, kind of at length yesterday as well. There are pieces, but how they come together, I think, especially after what we saw last year, where the environment was right there for everything to fit and they just didn't. That's going to be the most interesting part about Gamecock basketball this year. Wouldn't you agree, Bill?
Yeah, and typically I would say, well, how do you schedule? What kind of non-conference schedule do you put together? Do you put one together that's a little more conducive to a team picking up wins, learning to play together, and then going into conference play where maybe it's an easier schedule? Clearly, that's not what Frank is doing. We see games against Georgetown. We know that they're going to get Clemson. I know I'm leaving a few off. They're going to go to a multi-team event that I believe will be played in Asheville. They're going to have some marquee games. I feel like I'm leaving off a marquee game that we should know of or that I should have remembered. But
Florida State.
Florida State. Thank you. Yes. And then that's in Rock Hill. So, yeah, they're going to have they're not backing down. They're not backing down on the schedule. Now, the flip side to that is we've also seen losses in the past to teams that should have been easy wins in Stony Brook and Boston and Stetson. So, again, it's going to be a situation where I'm intrigued. I want to see what this team looks like, what Chico Carter looks like at the point guard position. If Jermaine Couisnard can get back to playing the way he did as a redshirt freshman. Keyshawn Bryant appeared at the end of last season to become the voice of the team, to kind of become that guy that's in, maybe he won't be on the level of Sindarius Thornwell, but the guy that Sindarius Thornwell was kind of becoming in terms of vocal leader and holding guys accountable. I'm interested to see how all that plays out and then what this team is able to do. And, if they can put themselves in position to go to the tournament, that would be fantastic. And if not, then I'm sure more of those tough conversations will have to be had at the end of next season.
And the conversation right now in college sports at large is the name, image, and likeness. Frank Martin right in the middle of it as it pertains to recruiting and saying that there's a guy out there with a 7-figure deal right now, and he's seen all kinds of stuff as it pertains to football as well. This is the most interesting comment I thought from Frank. I feel like I don't know if other college coaches will come out this strongly, but Frank kind of right on cue with who he is, not afraid to express his opinion about what he hopes happens with players with the opportunity to cash in right now.
I hope all athletes make as much as they can, especially after the way lawmakers and the NCAA basically 2 weeks ago said, go at it. The way that they did that and just opened up the floodgates, I hope that these young people take every last copper penny or bronze or whatever makes pennies, every single last one they can get. I hope they clean house with it.
It's surprising to me to hear that from a college coach, but I guess I shouldn't be that surprised that Frank Martin is the one doing that, because I think for a lot of us, I share that attitude right now, especially knowing how much money a guy like Frank himself has made in college basketball. And that's kind of been the main point for those of us advocating for more of a piece of the pie to go to the players, is that why is all the money go to the coaches? Why is all the money going to the athletic directors? What about the guys and girls actually performing and putting in all the blood, sweat, and tears on the court, on the fields, in the realm of competition? Why aren't they getting some of this? And now that they are, it's fascinating to see it all go down.
Don't you think that's how most coaches are going to talk now, though? Because it's going to look good to recruits. They don't want to play for a coach who thinks, that coach doesn't want me to maximize my opportunity to make money in college. It's like when you hear coaches now, when a player opts out of a bowl game, they obviously don't like it. No
Right.
football coach thinks that's the right move. They want you to have a commitment to the team and play it out and finish your season with your teammates. But they can't say that now because a recruit looks at that and says, okay, well, he just doesn't get it. So I think all the coaches, you mentioned SEC Media Days, we're going to hear it. I kind of expect all of the coaches to kind of have the same message, like, yeah, this is good for the players, and I hope they all do well. They deserve to make money, because that there's going to be high school kids listening to that. And everyone saw how Dabo got roasted all over Twitter. It wasn't just South Carolina fans piling on. It was NFL players. I saw Ryan Clark, who's on ESPN. I saw Marlon Humphrey, who's one of the best corners in the NFL. Like, everyone was roasting Dabo for his comments from several years ago. So they're all going to change their tunes, I think.
Well, now the bowl game thing is always funny and entertaining because there's some financial gain that's tied to that for coaches if you win a certain bowl game, or obviously if you get to a certain number of wins or something like that, where having Deebo Samuel, it's hard not to argue. If I know Will Muschamp stunk as a coach, but Tim and I argued the point about the Virginia bowl game a good bit leading up to it. And Tim, I think you said, the season was a success. I was like, no, I really think you need to win this bowl game to go into the offseason with momentum. And, not only did South Carolina lose, they get drubbed. is Will Muschamp's tenure any different if Debo Samuel wins? I know sometimes bowl games are weird, but in terms of how it can springboard you into the next season, but I just wonder about that. So I think college coaches, when I hear a college coach talk about, oh, well, if the said player doesn't want to play in bowl game, we support him, we understand and everything. I feel like that's just flat out lying because we know that there's a financial impact for the coach. In this situation, I don't know. How much does this impact a coach right now with name, image, likeness? And I think that's what nobody knows. Like, you guys were bringing up D'Eriq King and everything he signed and how he's been able to go out, and it looks like, at least publicly, it looks like D'Eriq King, more than anybody else, has been able to use this window, this opportunity to profit for himself. But if he goes out and he's 10 for 30 and throws 3 picks against Alabama in the opener, is he going to get roasted on Monday for, hey, he was way more focused on name, image, likeness this offseason than he was for preparing for that opener against Alabama?
Oh,
or if he struggles this year? So at that point, and then does Manny Diaz trying to look at him and be like, yeah, he should have been spending more time with us in the playbook, in the weight room, doing whatever. Like, because at that point, then it impacts the coach.
I mean, that
and
always.
So that's
happens.
where
Yeah.
But to me, the difference, Patrick, I understand what you're saying. Obviously, a guy like Dabo Swinney can't turn around and then say, oh, yeah, now I'm all for this name, image, and likeness stuff because of the previous remarks
track record.
on the record. And I think a lot of other coaches were in that same vein, not like Frank. What I hear when I heard Frank talk there is not just maybe a typical recruiting pitch or some coach speak that's going to help with recruiting in the future and is kind of calculating the whole deal. I heard some massive frustration or bitterness towards lawmakers and NCAA rule makers in that they allowed this to happen. And Frank feels like he's in an impossible situation right now, knowing that these offers are out there for other recruits, and there's absolutely nothing he can do about it, as opposed to maybe hearing about it before or these things being rumored behind closed doors and being back channeled and the whole deal. And it's just a little different. 803-404-6100, the number if you would like to weigh in. Name, image, and likeness continues to rule the college sports conversation right now for sure. Bill is brushed up on his international sports this morning, and it is a mess. If you are a big fan of the Olympics, as far as things are in Tokyo right now, we'll do a little bit of that and get you some culture this morning here on the show as we roll on in hour number 3. Glad you're a part of it. It's the early game here on 107.5 The Game.
The home of the Gamecocks and new head football coach, Shane Beamer, 107.5 The Game.
Today is an absolute dream come true. Not just to be a head football coach in the Southeastern Conference, but to be the head coach at the University of South Carolina.
Welcome, Coach.
Timing is everything, right? We're talking about it right now as it pertains to college sports, but if you're interested in making a move in the housing market, right now is a great time to do it. Buford Lending wants to help you out. Give Benji Getzi and his experienced team down at Buford Lending a call. 843-524-2404 is the number. Benji and his group have done all kinds of loans through the years, been servicing their clients for 25 years. And they understand how to get you the best deal. I understand it from firsthand experience, having worked with Benji right now with a growing family, looking into the options. And Benji has been there for me every step of the way, which is exactly what you need in a lender. Right now, you can find good numbers with almost anyone, but what you can't find is someone that you trust out there unless you know what you're looking for. And all Benji asks is that you put him on your list. You might have relationships with other lenders out there. Let Benji show you what he can do for you at Buford Lending, no matter what you're looking for. Maybe you're looking for expanding and looking for that new home like I am right now at my house. Maybe you're looking to refinance and cash in on your equity and take advantage of these great deals as far as interest rates, or you're looking for a second home, conventional construction, renovation, whatever you're looking for. Maybe it's a VA loan. Buford Lending, just a few miles from Paris Island. They've done that many, many times. Give Benji Getzi and his team at Buford Lending a call. Again, that number for Buford Lending is 843-524-2404.
And from the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center, Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality, shepherdsglass.com.
busy out there on Lake Murray. Can't imagine talking to my neighbors during the show. Maybe that's the difference between working in your closed garage and working in the sunroom there looking at Lake Murray. Or maybe just one of the differences between Bill and me. He's a man of the people. Uh-oh, hearing the 1-year-old right now. Not a good sign. Traffic reports going from Patrick very seriously. He's dialed in this morning on a pro. So we had Asheville, we had Austin last week. Anybody else heading anywhere good anytime soon? It's the week after next. I think I'm doing the beach with the family. It's during SEC Media Days, so going to try to work during it as well. That should be something. Patrick's planning on doing Tampa. Is that right?
This weekend, yeah.
Why Tampa, by the way?
Girlfriend's brother lives there, and her family's down there.
Yeah, I would assume outside of even Disney, the July trips down to Florida, not exactly peak season.
No, it's crazy out there. Actually, most of it's passed through, Trey. It's passed through. I wouldn't want my boat in the water, but I definitely wouldn't mind being here. I say this now, but for a hurricane.
Yeah, Travis, this has been a story for a few months now, I think. Domestic abuse with multiple partners. Nice. Justin going to do the Tennessee cabin with the family. Just talked to some of our friends that did a little camping excursion over there. Like, that makes sense for July to me, to do the camping in Tennessee. Bill, what about you? You going to get out of town anytime between now and football season?
I don't know. I would say as of today, it doesn't look promising, but we'll see.
I mean, when you live on the banks of Lake Murray like that.
Well, and that's another reason. But everything's just so expensive, and I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Hadn't decided yet. If not, next summer will be the big summer. I think we might go back to Disney next summer. And I've got a cruise that I booked last year that obviously got postponed, and I'm not going to use it until next year. But it's already paid for, so next summer may be the vacation summer. Austin will be 10, Ansley will be on the verge of 13. That'll seem like a good vacation summer where they can kind of remember what we're doing.
Right.
But yeah, speaking of that, I was kind of trying to glance at some days off. We'll talk about that later, just to get some rest coming up.
Oh yeah, Heath put in a 4 days off, I think, in basically the middle of August. I'll give you those dates too.
Okay.
Yeah, I do not be Bill on the precipice of the teenage years with the oldest daughter.
Yeah, we're right there at it. She thinks she'll be 12 in September. She thinks she's 18 or 19. Just doesn't want to drive. Apparently, that's the thing with kids these days. Not a bunch of them are looking forward to driving. They don't drive. They just
because driving sucks.
That I always thought it was awesome.
Yeah, I was like, I couldn't wait to get my driver's license to drive by myself.
Well, I
So
couldn't wait
maybe
to get my
that
license.
is that the internet world. Patrick can just go on a walking tour right now anywhere in the world. Why would he need to hop in the car?
No, I think it's everything associated with driving. It's cool. I was pumped to get my license, and it was great to drive until I moved out and had to pay for insurance. And every time I get a flat tire driving home from work, like last week, and I have to pay $200 for a new tire and alignment, and I'm going to have to do it again next time. If I ever get on the highway again, I'm going to have to get a new tire on because one is completely worn down and one is brand new, and it's going to just not be good. Everything associated with driving stinks when it's you paying for it.
It's the Uber world, Bill. It's a different world, man.
I can tell.
I just need to be in a city where I don't have to drive anywhere. All right, yeah.
Not a good sign for the 2020 Olympics that will be played in 2021, which makes my brain hurt to begin with. But when the International Olympic Committee chairman, I guess this guy's name, the president, sorry, not the chair, Bach arrives in Tokyo today, and there's a state of emergency and a ban on spectators likely to hit. Recently, they had announced that they're going to open things up to capacity and as much as 10,000 fans, but that was before the state of an emergency now going to change, force them to change plans, and probably going to come out a little later today because the virus cases on the rise, I guess, in Tokyo. 896 new cases today, up from 673 last week. The 19th straight day that cases have topped the mark that was set a week prior. So not great timing for this thing. If you guys are Olympic athletes, what would be your mindset going in to? We talked about how we're not sure exactly what to expect from Gamecock basketball this upcoming year or Gamecock football coming off the stranger year for sure because of all the COVID implications. But this is a direct impact, guys, on what we're about to watch here in the coming weeks. And we've never seen anything like this. Trey says in all caps, so help me if they cancel the Olympics. I feel like it's already so far down the road. They're so close. And they've already canceled it or postponed it from last year that they're going to go ahead and go on with it. It's just going to be tremendously, I feel like, strange. And Hope says she saw Dawn Staley put out a tweet that they were headed out to Tokyo. I wonder if it's going to end up happening. I think there is a bit of a question mark right now, but I think it is going to move forward just with tremendous protocols in place and in a much more kind of muted kind of way now that I'm seeing that these state of emergency restrictions are going to encourage everyone in Tokyo to watch the Olympics from home, and all bars and any kind of alcohol served probably going to be banned here in the next day or so, maybe even later on the day that comes out, Bill.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be interesting to see how Tokyo handles this. I'll never pay attention enough to the economics of hosting the Olympics, but I'm guessing if Tokyo, if you can't do this, you can't push it back. If you can't do it this year, you can't push it back another year. And I know that part of the Olympics is hosting is prestige, showcasing your city, your culture, everything that kind of goes into that. What is it? The opening ceremonies. There's a lot of big things there, but there's also an economic side to it that is very important to certain cities. Tokyo probably is not going to get that benefit, or would not have gotten that benefit maybe this year regardless. But now that they're implementing a state of emergency, let's say you call off the Olympics, what do you do for Tokyo to give them another Olympics? And then the other side to that is the Olympics is such a different, special need sporting event. You don't have this isn't baseball where if you don't make, or let's use the Stanley Cup last night. They were using the goalie for the Canadians, and he'd been in the NHL for 14 years. They're like, well, you don't know if he'll ever get back to the Stanley Cup after this was his first trip. He doesn't know if he'll get back. He's got just a few years left. There's because of the way the Olympics are every 4 years. Man, what is it? What do you think, Tim? Some sports you get one 2 shots max in your lifetime because of the age, because of, I mean, Simone Biles is
Some
as
people
good as she is.
already can't do it. Like some people qualified for the 2020 Olympics, and then when it got delayed by a year, they said, "Well, I can't afford to keep training. I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm getting older. I was holding out just to do this one last Olympics anyway because it was my life goal." And then this year there was re-qualifying for pretty much every event. So people that qualified last year didn't make it this year. So people have already gotten screwed like that.
I mean, it's one of those things that you'd absolutely hate it for both the people, the city of Tokyo. I'll be interested to see. So what? It's 2 weeks from tomorrow is the opening games. I guess they've got to make a decision pretty quickly because as y'all pointed out on the live stream, players, athletes are starting to arrive, and so if you're not going to do it, you may as well just stop the process right now.
Well, this is the International Olympic Committee president arriving, and he's got to be, I think, in isolation for 3 days now, traveling in because of the local restrictions and protocols. Trey hits us up, says, I would be livid. Can you imagine working for something your whole life and having it ripped away because of people who aren't athletes or coaches? I understand, but you also have to understand, too, this isn't the first time we're hearing about this. I mean, talk to USC women's basketball, especially being the number 1 seed going into the NCAA tournament last year and no tournament. I feel like the Olympics from a young age, from a lot of these sports, they slap a label on you in a year, right? Oh, 2020, that's going to be the year that they're working towards to make the Olympics. And their whole life is dedicated to it. And to have it postponed from last year, now pushed to this year. And to me, it's just wildly unfortunate that this is where Tokyo is kind of in their dealing with the virus and its implications, as opposed to where I feel like we are in our country. Most of it, if not all of it, I think we feel like from the sports perspective, and hearing from Frank Martin yesterday talking about how, it's back to basically normal for his team and being together and their routine and workouts and the whole deal, as opposed to last year where it was completely different. And it was so difficult in so many ways for especially the Gamecock basketball team, man. It just, I feel for everyone involved here. And I will not scapegoat anyone saying that they're ripping something away or saying that, well, if they don't understand because they're not athletes or coach. I think these people that are in charge do understand it and want to be able to create the best possible situation. It's just that no one knows what that is right now, I think is the very difficult part. And from the host city standpoint, Bill, that you're talking about, just absolutely brutal in so many ways, dealing with all of the extraneous stuff that comes with this. You know, the typical Olympic hosting story is complicated enough. You've seen cities that have built all kinds of facilities and dedicated all kinds of money, and a lot of times they're used like once or twice, and then they go to waste, or there's all kinds of economic implications that do work out sometimes, but a lot of times don't. And to see where it is as we sit here right now, just a couple of weeks away that you're talking about, Bill, for Tokyo, I can't imagine being a part of that. And then also, now it's going to be odd for everybody involved there on the ground, right? Because you want to celebrate the opening ceremonies and the games and what they are, but doing it or having to do it how things sit in the world and specifically in Tokyo right now is going to be fascinating in a weird and complicated kind of way, I feel like.
Well, I was looking at it's called National Stadium, there was an original National Stadium that was there in Japan. They demolished it in 2015. And then you guys want a ballpark basically for the Olympics, for not necessarily just the opening ceremony, but track and field as well. But the opening ceremony is a showcase for these things. You guys want a ballpark how much this new national stadium costs to build?
No clue, but I'm guessing it has a B attached to it. Patrick, you want to throw out a number?
$800 million.
I'll go $1.5 billion.
You were right over $1.4 billion to build this new national stadium that took 4 years to construct. And it was actually supposed to be ready for the World Rugby Championships last year or in 2019, and it wasn't ready. But so it will be used for other things besides just the opening ceremony and track and field. But nonetheless, I mean this was built because Tokyo won the bid to host the 2020 Olympics. So a lot of things that'll be a shame. Hopefully that they'll be able to figure things out. But it sounds like, I mean, I'm just reading some of this right now. They're not even 100% sure, because what they've been doing is having the torch, the running of the torch has not even been on main streets. It doesn't really, it just says it's only been allowed to run on remote islands off the Tokyo coast. And it is unclear how the torch will actually enter the stadium for the opening ceremony. So it's
just bizarre to see. Like, so we saw Tampa Bay celebrating a full arena yesterday, 100% capacity. Montreal could only put 3,500 people in the same continent. England had a soccer game yesterday with 65,000. And now Bill's saying there's a $1.5 billion stadium with 68,000 seats that's going to be completely empty. Like, it's just bizarre how everyone is at a totally different stage.
No doubt about it. And we'll be kind of right in front of us again. I feel like we'll kind of be reliving what we've already gone through as sports fans in our country, but set to be right in front of us again here in a couple of weeks for the Olympics. Unfortunate for sure. Fortunately, we're going to have an actual expert join the show coming up here in a couple of minutes with Darlington Raceway President Kerry Tharp. I am very interested in his thoughts. We asked him last week when this was going down for the first time about thinking back to his sports information director days at USC when he was there for a couple of decades, I believe it was, in the 80s and early 2000s, about the possibility of name, image, and likeness coming into play. And he said he thought the players deserve more of the piece of the pie. I'm interested in hearing his thoughts now that things have popped up in the real world and deals have been made. We'll hear those as well as his latest musings and thoughts on the NASCAR world. And Jen Jensen is proud to have picked a winner last week and hoping that she can shift the balance of power away from Bill Gunter as our NASCAR leader right now in our NASCAR pick segment. We'll do that when we come back here. 803-404-6100. If you would like to join, it's the early game. It's 107.5 again. Baby Shark. That's where we are at my family. We played Baby Shark now the last couple of dinners because my 1-year-old, it's the only thing that makes him happy while we're eating dinner, and will only thing that kind of keeps him under control, keeps him from, like, he doesn't say he's done or just stop eating. When he is full, he'll just pick up the food and start chucking it. I mean, the whole thing, and it creates a massive mess. Fortunately, around our house, we've had some professional help getting our house looking and feeling its best from Zero Res Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. Zero Res has done a great job. And the ultra important thing about Zero Res specifically coming out to my house right now, 8-year-old, 6-year-old, and 1-year-old boys, no harsh chemicals involved in their patented powered water cleaning process. And we have nothing to worry about. That's important for my wife and I. Also, the results that we've gotten when Zero Res has cleaned our carpets and area rug, also freshened up the tiles in the bathroom and kitchen. Excellent results. That's why I recommend you get them out to your house. Also, no leftover soapy residue to attract more dirt back in the carpets. My carpets would stay cleaner longer. Yours can as well. And right now, 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119. The great deal that Zero Res has for you. And if you mention me, Tim Hill, you can get a free hallway as well. ZeroResColumbia.com. Book your appointment today. Give them a call at 803-262-4020. That's Zero Res. Spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean. Baby Shark. The booth, Bill. it's clearing up a little bit, getting a little brighter back there. Now Patrick's out. It's almost like I left these guys hung out to dry in the first half. Yeah, no doubt there, Travis. Apparently there is quite the vibe. The Olympic Village. Don't know if they'll have the Olympic Village or what kind of protocols will be in place, man. What do you think? Their fake radio meteorologist has it moved out?
Well, I mean, it's moving out. It has not moved out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I see some I don't know if I'd call it sunlight, but some light across the lake. See what y'all can see here. Yeah, you can see it. It's lying. I mean, yeah, I agree, Travis. It does look like it's going to turn into a decent afternoon. If the wind would die down, I'd be fine. That would calm the water. It could stay rainy like this and overcast. But if the wind would die down, the waves would stop, and we'd be fine.
All right, ready to roll. We're about to come back.
All right.
You got Carrot?
Yep, we're good.
All right.
You're up.
Had a listener text in last week, I think it was, when name, image
hit in college athletics, saying that now every post-game interview from a college athletic will sound like a NASCAR interview, mentioning all the sponsorships. Those worlds collide right now for us. Fortunate to be joined by our Darlington Raceway president, Kerry Tharp, and longtime USC Sports Information Director, as usual, on a Thursday morning. Kerry, great to have you this morning. I'm wondering what you make of it. We asked you about just the premise of name, image, and likeness, and you said you were for it, and athletes kind of deserve some things in college with all the money involved. Now that we've had about a week of developments, what are your thoughts, and how do you take it all in?
Well, I tell you, it's pretty interesting. Like I said earlier, I think last week, I am in favor for the athletes, receiving some type of remuneration for, their likeness and things of that nature. The schools certainly make tons off of that. But it seems like to me that it's a pretty complex issue. I mean, I hope college sports doesn't lose sight that it's still a sport. I know it's a business. It's $1 billion business. And, that's what it's become. But I hope we don't lose sight of the fact that it's still young men and women competing, trying to, be the best they can be, athletes and also young people. And so, to me, it just seems like it's kind of complex. And to be quite honest with you, I'm fairly certain I'm glad I didn't have to deal with all this back when I was in Carolina, because I think it would have been, a little difficult, a little challenging.
No doubt about it. He's Darlington Raceway president, former USC Sports Information Director, Kerry Tharp. Kerry, is there any common sense measure out there that can be put into place right now? I think that's the other part of this, is that now that the NCAA and lawmakers basically just let them go at it, we're left saying, all right, what now? What could happen next? Do you have any advice out there, or any idea with a direction of where to go to keep this thing under control, or to make it even better?
Well, I think to me that's the biggest challenge out there. How do you regulate this? What you don't want it to become is all that the young people care about is, getting $3,000 for an autograph session and not worrying about, representing their school and university and state for that matter. So, man, I don't know. It's going to take some people a lot smarter than me. And I'm not sure if it's the NCAA or not. Sometimes you kind of question some of their decision making, but I just think that there has to be some type of legislation. Maybe there's some type of a separate organization that deals with this. That because there's a lot of people out there that certainly are going to want to try to take advantage of these athletes, and we've heard it time and time again in the sports world where somebody had a big contract, and all of a sudden 5 years later they were broke. And so, you don't want to have some people out there misrepresenting these athletes and causing this to be a much more of a burden than it really is. And I just go back to the premise again. I love college sports, always will, and I'll always have. And I just hope that this does not deter from our love for the sport. And hopefully it won't. So that's my take on it.
I think we're with you on that one. Let's switch gears and go to NASCAR now with Darlington Raceway president Kerry Tharp. After Road America, almost nailed it last week with your Christopher Bell pick, finishing in second. Jen did get the correct pick with Chase Elliott as the winner, and unfortunately, Kerry, she jumped you in the standings in our picks contest. She's in second now. You're in third, and Bill's still in a distant first place. Actually, separated himself by 15 points right now. What'd you make of what happened up there in Wisconsin? And now that things are transitioning to Atlanta this week?
But first and foremost, we see that Chase Elliott once again is the road course king. I mean, he's only 25 years old. He's already won 7 times on road courses. The NASCAR record for wins on road courses is 9 by Jeff Gordon. And then I think Tony Stewart has 8. So Elliott is going to eclipse that sooner than later. I thought it was a great event. They say they had a fantastic crowd up there as well. And that part of the country, up in Wisconsin, is rabid NASCAR fans. And so I thought it was a winning event. It hadn't been on the schedule before. They've done Xfinity racing up there, but I don't think they've done a cup race up there since the late 50s. And so it was, I think, something that they'll probably go back and do again. And, but I thought all in all, it was a successful event. Once again, we see Chase Elliott winning at a road course.
And now headed to Atlanta. Let's go ahead and get your pick for this week.
Well, I'm going to have to stay with Hendrick Motorsports. They have just been so dominant the last, I think the last 9 races, they've won 8 of them. So I'm going to go 9 for Tim. This time I'm going to go over to the 24 car. I'm going to go to William Byron. I think he gets the win Sunday at Atlanta.
All right, Bill, what do you make of it?
That's a good call. That could work for you. That could work. I mean, look, I will say when you're that far behind and as you currently sit 20 points behind me, you got to go with some outside of the box picks, and that might not be a bad one there, Kerry.
Yeah, I'm swinging for the fences, Bill. I'm swinging for the fences.
All right, Bill, since Jen is not with us, so I have her picks, but I'm going to give you just to lessen the whining and complaining that you always pick third. We'll go ahead and give you the second pick here, and I'm guessing it won't be Jen's pick. We'll see.
Well, it might be. I don't know, because I'm gonna take a chance. I did this last week and it didn't pay off. I'm going with past history. a guy who has 3 top 5s, a pair of top 10s in the last 6 Atlanta races. I was trying to scroll back through to see when the last time I took Mr. Kyle Busch was. I think it's been a while. So, but I'm going to go Kyle Busch on this one over Kyle Larson. I was really debating Kyle Larson, I think, is the favorite, but I'm going to go Kyle Busch here.
Unbelievable, Kerry. Jen sent me 2 names. Now Jen is taking some time off and being with her family right now.
Yeah.
If you could send some prayers her way, we'd certainly appreciate
Absolutely.
that. But she sent me 2 names. Kyle Busch was her first pick. Kyle Larson was her second pick. Bill, you and Jen are clearly soulmates in the NASCAR pick segment.
Well, look, yeah, I get picked on this. Those are the top 2 odds. As I look at it, Larson's the number one, the favorite, and Kyle Busch is number 2. So
Jen's no dummy.
Jen's just stealing some of the smart strategy here.
Well done. So her official pick is going to be Kyle Larson. Bill's got Kyle Busch. Kerry's got William Byron going into Atlanta this weekend. Kerry, appreciate all the insight, both with the college sports situation and NASCAR as always. Hope you have a good weekend, sir. And
30.
I'll be pulling for William Byron to help you get back into second place in the picks contest.
I appreciate it. Thank you all very, very much.
Twitter, Kerry_Tharp, where you can follow the Darlington Raceway president, darlingtonraceway.com, where you can get all the information about Darlington. Quite the show today. Bill, Patrick, thanks for carrying me.
10.
We got us through the first hour. We'll do it all together for 3 hours tomorrow.
We'll see. Jim Paxton Show coming up next.
This is Gamecock Athletics. Clay Tanner, and you're listening to 107.5 The Game, WNKT FM.
All right. Let's unmute you guys. Witness relocation program looking excellent right now, Bill.
Thank
your
you.
Silhouette. When you move the hand, I see your face. That's
Yep. It's actually a trick. I'm not the one. My voice is just in the background. I have a complete professional making the picks, the NASCAR picks.
Anthony, thanks, man. Hope have a safe day as well. Whit, good to hear from you, sir. Hope everything's good out in Fort Worth this morning. Thanks for helping us out, especially since I didn't even bother to show up until 7 o'clock or so.
All right.
See you guys tomorrow, possibly at 6 a.m.